put them more again. Put them more again.
Grüezi chess fans, and welcome to the 53rd Biel Chess Festival. This is the third leg of the triathlon, the BLITZ tournament. We will have a 14-round BLITZ tournament between the players, and then the 3 final classical rounds after Monday's free day. So this should be fast and furious. We'll be joined at 3 o'clock by Surya Ganguly to assist with the commentary. And right now we have Radoslav Wojtaszek, who is leading the tournament, just ahead of Pentala Harikrishna and 15-year-old Vincent Kaymer. So these are the 3, and with Michael Adams also close by, these are the 4 who both led the Chess 960 tournament, which is the tiebreaker. They led the Rapid tournament. They were top 4 in the Rapid tournament, and now we'll see how they go in the Blitz. One curious fact about these players is that Michael Adams, who is 48 years old, is also the top ranked Blitz player on the FIDE Blitz rating list of all the competitors in this field. He is 14 years older than the next oldest player, but his Blitz ranking in the world is number 35. Now, the FIDE Blitz ratings are not particularly accurate. The main event that they rate is the World Blitz Championship, and then players have to be lucky to play a Blitz event that's actually rated. I remember playing a very strong event in Latvia where there were something like 20 grandmasters, and it just didn't make the FIDE Blitz rating list. So I would take all these Blitz rankings with a grain of salt, but if you believe in them, then the second seed in this tournament is Radoslav Wojtaszek, and the third seed is Pentala Harikrishna on FIDE Blitz rankings. And Vincent Kaymer, although not seeded very high, is actually ranked as the 5th highest ranked under 16 Blitz player in the world. So that's not too bad either. So our first round will be Pentala Pentala Harikrishna against Noel Studer, and then Vincent Kamer against Romain Edouard. Our feature game, Radislav Wojciech against David Anton, and Michael Adams against Arkady Naiditsch. It's really hard to predict how these games will go. The players haven't arrived at the board yet, but certainly there will be probably only 5 minutes between the games, but it does depend on how quickly the pieces can be cleaned and the boards can be cleaned as part of the COVID precautions for this particular event. Remembering that with the BLITZ tournament, there will be no panel between the players, no plexiglass panel between the players, and therefore they're only spending a relatively short time opposite each other. But the players are turning up at the game now, and from what I can see, no masks on show. So this will be perhaps the only event in the Grandmaster group where things are completely normal, without any particular precautions, it seems. The reason they're not using the plexiglass panel for the BLITZ tournament is that it was so it was awkward to get your arm underneath it when you were playing very quickly. They were giving 45 seconds increments, so that in the classical tournament, if someone was short of time, they'd never be too short of time. And so here it's almost like a normal tournament, except of course everyone has to wash their hands before they play. The pieces and board are cleared between each game, and I presume the players will have to separate from each other after each game. So, well, we're certainly expecting some sudden blunder chess here, and well, I would back the young players. That's Kamer, Noel Studer, and David Anton. But somehow, at least in the World BLITZ Championship, experience has certainly counted for something, and we have seen some veterans. And the games are underway already. So we have a Dutch defense, by the way. I cannot move the pieces around on these particular boards. And we have a Leningrad variation where white plays E3, which is somewhat unusual. And now we have some weird B4 system. Korchnoi used to play that sort of thing against the King's Indian. A5 tended not to be terribly effective. And yes, we have genuinely something weird, but I don't completely trust Anton's setup. He may be able to play it almost like a Queen's Indian with Bishop B7 and Knight E4, but at some point he's going to have to go D6 and Knight D7, and I'm not totally sure that's going to work for him so well. So if it's, yeah, so D6 is coming, Knight D7, and sooner or later there'll be Knight E4. The bishop on G7 is weirdly placed, but apart from that, it seems fairly comfortable. So now if Knight D7, Knight G5, it's pretty easy to guard that pawn on E6. In some Dutch lines where the bishop's on E7, Knight G5 can be really destructive. And white's got to find a plan here. And the fact that he went bishop E2 means that he probably wasn't thinking about a quick Knight G5 and E4. And he probably can't play D5 at the moment because his knight on his knight on C3 will be pinned to the bishop on B2 later. So he did play Knight G5, but with the idea of getting rid of those light squared bishops. And here, well, black usually wants to play E5. White will probably take and play Knight D5, and then try and hit the E5 pawn, or even put the queen on C6 in some positions. So black has hesitated with E5. Black's almost certain to go King H8 just because it's sort of a useful, safe move. And then there might be, oh no, D5 won't work because there'll always be Knight C5. I was a little bit worried about D5, E5, Knight G5, but here both sides are preparing for the opening up of the D file, but I think black can definitely go E5 here. With E5, if white swaps or pushes past, you'll get the C5 square, and so that should work fairly well. So all in all, yeah, it feels quite happy for black here. So he's played E5, And basically, if you can play knight d5 in these positions, you can sometimes get somewhere, but it doesn't seem so promising. None of the other games, by the way, seem to be too far from equal. And okay, takes. Here, if white goes e4, which is always a possibility, no, bishop a3, knight c5. So does he really want to take? No, just queen c2, keeping the pin up. And black can't really play knight fd7 because it always allows knight d5. And if you play e4 here to get the d3 square for your knight later, then knight d4 and the c6 square is weak. So black needs a little bit of maneuvering. Exactly what that is, I'm not sure. Rook fe8 looks logical. You could also take on the d file if you really wanted, because white doesn't have entry squares on the d file. Certainly time, well, by the way, the time limit for this tournament is, oh, e4 played. Time limit for this tournament is 3 minutes plus 2 seconds per move, which is a relatively fast form of blitz. And Anton has just played queen f7 with the idea of taking on c4 when the knight moves. However, after knight c6, rook takes rook, you could take back with the knight if you wanted to save your pawns, and then the a5 pawn is a bit weak. He took back with the rook, so he wants to take on a5, which positionally seems quite good. The queen will have to go back, and then white can probably put a knight back on c6 and then think about a5, a6. So Wojciech is a little bit ahead on the clock and also seems to have a pretty good position. So knight e2 played, looking for knight f4 and also looking for knight c4. Black probably needs to go for a big attack here with a queen on the dark squares and knight g4 or something along those lines. You might have to start with g5. He started with knight g4. He's thinking about knight e5. So knight c4 looks very logical here. He decided to hit the queen first. You can't go queen e5 now because of knight c4. So the queen needs to go somewhere else, and maybe f7, although the c5 pawn is hanging right now. So that is embarrassing. But okay, he's giving up c5 in order to play g5. So knight back and h3 thrown in and queen takes c5. So white has won a pawn, and it's not a bad pawn, but after g5, he is going to face a serious attack. And pawns are not that relevant in blitz. So here I'd rather have the extra minute that white has. Don't believe the, you can't see the clocks at the moment either. So knight d3 played. Queen c6 on f4 now. I was thinking to start with f4, but okay, he wants to do it this way. So there's no queen c7 in this version because the d5 knight will hang. So let's see how it's going. Knight back, that swaps the knight back, that really looks dodgy. Now black should have some way through here. I don't know if e3 is going to work. f3 looks nasty, but e4 is hanging, so you have to be pretty accurate here. So queen takes e4 is the big threat. Knight b4 played. So what's the idea after? Oh, if queen takes e4, bishop takes c3, protects the knight on b4. That is a bonus. Okay, so where does the queen go? Queen here, knight d3. Looks like black is happy with the draw. With this, wow, and obviously Wojciech is a bit nervous too. So they're repeating moves, and perhaps this is going to go to a draw. That's second repetition, and I think the players are about to agree a draw. Yep, and they have agreed a draw. Let's flip over quickly to the Kamer game, which seems not to have finished. So Kamer has a very weird king, but it looks pretty safe, and a genuinely bad black king around here. So it looks like it's good for Kamer. The question is, how do you break through? You have to dislodge the rook on h5 in order to break through. Knight e4. That threatens the rook on h5. This is good stuff. So rook h4. So if you take, I'd love to take on d6 and play queen h5. We'll start with queen h5. No, just knight g3. Takes. So queen f6, and it's not so clear anymore. Rook h1. Can black get to the h file in time? Probably not, but he's running away. So queen h7 looks pretty nasty. And now what? You could take on b7 and you're definitely better because your king's safer, and that's what's happened. So after bishop takes d5, I'm not sure what we want to do. He took with the pawn to keep the 7th rank, and if rook g7, rook h8 could be nasty. So queen e7. Well, you could take another pawn on a6 if you want, and he did, and he pushed to a5. So black desperately needs to open up the white king. Yeah, e4 looks logical here. The problem with pushing the a pawn, of course, is your king's over that side. So rook a1, he's going to play rook a2 if queen b7, and here rook a2 probably anyway, and then he might try f4. So no, as he lost on time. He has lost on time. So Kaymer wins, and he joins. Oh well, he's currently the leader. Okay, let us go to Adams and Neidich. Adams is completely winning, so we'll skip that one. I assume he's got enough time left. So Hari Krishna and Studer. Let's see. And white is better, but he's allowed queen h4 check here. Oh no, white is a pawn down. Sorry. So it's a bishop against knight, and Studer should be able to convert this with a bit of care. Probably start with bishop d6 to keep the knight completely under control, then put your king on d5. Don't allow white to play a5, and then take on c5. So he hasn't moved yet, but I think he's got enough time. So yeah, king e6 would be a little bit careless, I think, but bishop d6 is very safe, and it should be enough. So what can he do? Well, has he got enough time? He looks like he has very limited time, but they're really racing out moves. Unfortunately, it seems to be frozen. They've made a lot of moves from this position, and the screen is not keeping up with them. Studer is definitely better, though, against Hari Krishna. But unfortunately, no moves. If Adams should have finished by now, he has, and he's won. So we're just waiting to see. We could have a close-up of the board, perhaps, to give us a chance. But I think it looks like Studer has lost, to be honest. He looked very disappointed. No, it was agreed drawn. Okay, we don't have the move, so it's understandably disappointed. He should be winning this position, but something went wrong in time trouble. I hope we'll be able to reconstruct the pieces. The DGT board just couldn't keep up with them, and Hari Krishna escapes with a somewhat undeserved half point. So let's see what's in line for round 2. Well, we have Anton against Wojciech. Oh, they reverse colors. Okay, so they're mini matches of two games each. So this time, well, let's see if Kaymer can win again as the underdog in the second round. They will have 5 minutes. Notice how quickly they're collecting the pieces, putting them in a box, replacing them with another one. They're going to race away during the other games, and first they have to clean the board, but then they're going to be cleaning the pieces away from the board and a new set of pieces placed. This is a race against time for the arbiters, but it's necessary in these days. And well, if you're going to have a blitz tournament, then you have to accept little inconveniences like that. So we have 2 leaders at the moment, and Michael Adams and Vincent Kaymer, and they're just half a point against their ahead of their big rivals, Pentala Hari Krishna and Radoslav Wojciech. So not much has changed in the standings, except I think Hari Krishna has been caught by Kaymer in second place, and they're sitting now 2 points behind Wojciech, and Adams is still trailing a little bit. He is 1.5 points behind second place. So that's what happened in round 1, and yeah, the players are wandering around. I think the boards are almost ready to go, and we will see what happens soon. So while we're waiting, I'll just fill you in on what has happened so far in this festival in the top tournament. First of all, we had a Chess 960 tournament, which was won by Pentala Hari Krishna. That was a rather lucky victory, with Wojciech losing in the final round to the tailender Studer, who had lost his previous 6 games. Wojciech gained his revenge in the rapid tournament, which actually counts towards the final scores, and that was 2 points for a win, and so that's twice as valuable as the BLITZ tournament. And of course, the main event is 4 points for a win. And right now, well, Studer is certainly moving up a bit. I believe he's overtaken Eduard, and he's closing in on Najditch. So quite impressive play by him. So let's see how the second round goes. Currently, the players are ready to roll, and let's have a look at Romain against Kaymer as our game of the round. Looks like they're waiting for the arbiter's call. So let's see how we go. And they're not off yet. They're off. Okay. So let's see. It's a semi-Slav with bishop g5 and bishop takes f6. And gee, the moves have come quick and fast. So it's a typical position where white is trying to play b5 as a minority attack, but the bishop on g2 is not terribly well placed. If the black knight could get to d6, it would be doing well, but currently it's not so great, and white plays knight e1 in order to go knight d3. So queen b6 is a double attack, and it may force white to do something that he hadn't intended to do quite so quickly. You certainly don't really want to play knight c2. Oh, he played knight c2, okay. h5, that's, if your queen's on b6, h5 is not exactly very scary, but Hari Krishna may be just looking to distract his opponent. So b5 finally played, and white hopes that in some endgames that pawn on c6 is going to be very weak, but the problem is that the knight on c2 is not so well placed. Now, c5 is an attempt to attack, takes. Unfortunately, you can't just go d4 here because everything gets swapped off and the b7 pawn is very weak. I wonder if he's going to try for knight g4, but the d5 pawn is weak too. So white is about to switch to rook to d1, and at some point play knight d4, I expect. So rook d8, he'll go rook d1. It's just an automatic move, and we'll see how that comes along. Knight e4 now. So if you take on d5, then black swaps and plays knight c3, and then your queen and rook are forked, and it doesn't work very well. So that's not really a great idea. So what else can be done? Let's have a look. Is knight takes f2 a threat? Not really. Perhaps queen h6 at some point might be played. You can also move your rook away from b1 so that you don't have to worry so much about the fork on c3. So let's see what Studer comes up with the white pieces. It doesn't seem like it's that great for him. So let's see how we're going. So what? Well, I still okay. So something very weird is happening here, because the game you've got as Studer Hari Krishna is not the same one I've got. Sorry, we're looking for Kaymer, aren't we? Okay, my apologies. So the Kaymer game was a semi-Slav. I accidentally switched games, I'm sorry. And here, well, Kaymer has the pair of bishops, but the d5 pawn looks nasty and the pressure on b7 looks nasty. So here, you can't simply take on d5 and play b6, but you have to play rook b8 first, and then you're liable to walk into a knight a5 type of move. So bishop f5, trying to annoy the rook on b1. So there's still rook b8 if you want, but I suspect Kama will be thinking more about playing bishop c2 at some point and taking the knight and equalizing. Aha, rook c8. So if bishop takes pawn, rook takes pawn, he's still got the bishops. It's a pretty hard position to play for a win here with black, but we'll see how we go. So knight d4, knight a5 was also interesting, but knight d4 wants to send that bishop back to d7, and then he may take on b7 and have some sort of discovery. Or will he play knight c2 first? And now bishop takes b7 will threaten the rook, the bishop on d7. So white may have won a pawn here. You may need to play bishop c5, and after bishop takes b7, just play rook b8. So he's gone all the way to e7. So his idea is bishop takes b7, he'll go bishop a4 and try to use that pin. And could be a good idea, I must admit. So we'll see how it's going. Rook c7, bishop a6, and he is solid, isn't he? Bishop a4 is still an idea, though. Now the bishop can't get back to cover the knight, and if you put a rook on a normal square, like c1, bishop g5 will be annoying. You can play f4 then, though. So he played rook d2, and Kama has decided to try to make a draw here. Put the bishop on c5, threaten to come in on the 7th rank, try to avoid the white bishop ever getting to d5, and that does seem a reasonable defensive idea. White needs to be able to play bishop c6 sometime, but first white improves his position. I thought actually he could try a quick rook b1 and bishop a6 in order to play bishop b7. But he's allowed bishop d5. So that's the first big mistake by Kama. And after bishop d5, you're going to be suffering. You will have to keep one rook covering the 2nd rank, but the other one can go to b1 and think about coming in on the 7th at some point. So I suspect black is thinking about rook f6 now to put more pressure on. But there's always king g2, and that will probably happen quite soon. And well, white has no real problems on the f2 square. So f4 looks a bit dodgy, but is he really going to go f5? It's not impossible, but it doesn't threaten anything, and you've just given away the e3 square to a rook. So it doesn't seem to be a great winning try. Both players have got about equal amount of time. Rook e3, but it's almost impossible for white to lose this position. He's going to go rook e1 now. Just keep the rooks on the board, I expect. And there's a rook g1, so probably rook f1 is going to be played. And it looks like Kama and Edward headed for a draw here, I'd say. There is also rook b1 here if you want to jump in on b7, and that looks very decent. Rook f2 played. A strange move, putting it on the same diagonal as the bishop, but his idea is to go rook e2, I suppose. And there's no big discovery here. They're both burning a bit of time. It's going to get down to 2-second increments before too long. So what can black do? Doesn't seem like there's anything much, and Kama is eating time. Well, rook d7. So he wants to cover the 7th rank, but rook e2 will happen, and maybe he'll play doubling, and he did. So that's his idea. So take, and now he'll look for the b file, I suppose. And bishop b6 holds it back a little bit. And now if you play c5 and invade on the 7th, black will have rook e7. So you can't get in that way. So a4 played, hoping the white rook will go behind it, and then maybe c5 and rook b7 works. But that might be also a way of provoking white into playing for a win. King f6. Okay, now there is still a bishop e7 possibility. Okay, rook here with both c5 and a5 coming up. The black rook can't easily stop it. So king f1. He's not willing to go to h3 because of a check on, bishop g1. So he's going to start taking pawns, but then c5 will come. So c5 will be played, and now rook to the 7th, forcing bishop e7, and then c6, and it's getting very, very close to a win for Edward. I suppose that rook has to go behind the pawn, but it can get hit by a king. Then perhaps rook c5 hangs on, but with a pawn like that and the potential of taking on a7 as he's done, it should be just about game over. So here, c7 played. You can't play bishop d6. Bishop b7 is coming, and I think Kaymer is about to go down. Better get out of those checks. The discovered checks, that is. G5. So bishop b7 will happen, and there's really nothing doing here, and Kaymer must resign. Has he done so? Yes, he has. Okay, let's see what else has been happening on these boards. So let's go to Anton and Wojciech, the rematch, and we have a rook endgame. It is slightly better for black. Black can, well, probably not much, and in fact, I think they've agreed to draw here. So Adams and Naiditsch. Whoa, Adams looks like he's absolutely killing Naiditsch, and so are they all over? It looks like they are, and let's see. Yep, all games over. Hare Krishna defeated Kaymer. Wojciech defeated Naiditsch. Adams drew with Edward, and Studer. No, hang on, I've got this all wrong. Sorry. No. Adams defeated Naiditsch. Anton drew with Wojciech again. Edward beat Kaymer, so they finished 1-1. And Studer and Hare Krishna, let's get to this one, is rook and bishop against rook. And this is actually a draw. White has to keep the rook on the d file, otherwise rook d2 check will win, but it seems as if Studer knows exactly what he's doing. As long as you can't check on d2, there's no way of repositioning here. So he tries king e4 with the idea of bishop d4 and king d3, which will be annoying, but White finds a way to prevent that. Okay, so, oh, he's blundered his rook. Oh dear. So Hare Krishna beats Studer in the second game through a blunder in rook and bishop against rook, which must be incredibly hard to defend when you are playing at 2 seconds per move as he was. So let's see. Adams has 2 points so far, and then nobody else is on more than 50%. We have Anton, Kaymer, and Wojciech and Edward all on 1 point. Half a point. Hang on. Why? Okay, they haven't been updated. Pentala, Hare Krishna should be on 1.5. Studer on 0.5. And Naiditsch on 0. So yeah, this is the table, not including the Hare Krishna game, unfortunately. So we've got a few minutes to wait. The arbiters are racing to the boards. They're wiping them down frantically. They've already put the pieces in a box. They're getting ready to put new pieces there. It's the new COVID dance, if you like. There's one arbiter for each board, and they're really going fast on this. So they're trying to make it only 5 minutes between rounds. But while we wait for the next round, maybe we'll have a little bit of music. And the reception to Juga was very good last time. So here's another Juga song.
I'm an isolated pawn. I survived some filthy battles. Now I'm far from all the rest, and I'm scared to death. Oh, I'm an isolated pawn. I survived some filthy battles. Now I'm far from all the rest. Ooh. Dark night has blocked my way.
Welcome back, and we are about to have the third round of the Biel BLITZ tournament. Michael Adams is our leader, so we'll be following his game against David Anton, and the players are just about lined up to go. So and they're just approaching they're on the stage, approaching the board, I think. Yep. And so we have Anton seated, and Michael Adams is calmly going to his board, and we will see him in just a moment. So, any handshake? I doubt it. And Anton is wearing a mask. Okay. Well, that's fair enough, playing someone from England, I guess. So, yeah. So, they're all wearing a mask. Okay. And this was a debate at the players' meeting, and they did not decide that at the players' meeting about all wearing a mask, but they've decided to do that. And I can also be joined by Dina Belenkaya. So hi, Dina. How's it going?
Hello, Ian. Hello, everyone. Today we have a very special day. We have a BLITZ tournament, and yes, as you were already mentioning, we did have to change the little bit the circumstances of playing conditions. Plastic barriers were replaced by masks, but not just simple masks, very special masks which were handmade especially for our event. They have the logo of the tournament. You can probably see it as the of the red color and Biel Chess Festival logo on it. Players seem to be okay with that so far. Of course, it will be.
David Anton's not wearing one of them.
Sorry.
David Anton is not wearing a Biel mask.
He was wearing it in the beginning. Yeah, he might have probably changed his mind.
Right. Yeah.
But
so
otherwise, everything was okay with it.
Okay, let's go for the Anton Adams game, and we have a B3 system by Anton where he's knocked the bishop up from G4 back to G6, and he's going for the pair of bishops with knight H4. There's no knight takes G4 tricks. Well, actually, there's no tricks at all with knight takes G4. You can even take back with the pawn. So black has to choose where to put his pieces, and well, he's decided just to go C6. He might even be thinking about E5. Now it's a bit risky here to play F4, I would think. So he's just gone knight E2, and is Adams just planning to play E5 to avoid some F4, F5 at some point, but maybe it just encourages F4. Hard to say. So bishop perhaps to C5 to discourage F4 could be interesting. Actually, F4, F5 is not a threat at the moment, because when you take G pawn takes, bishop H5 will be possible. So Adams is just developing and probably thinking about going queenside before too long. White has no great choice about his king. If he gets out of the center, it'll have to be queenside. Right now, the white position looks okay, but the hard part is deciding what to do next. So castle's queenside play, that will encourage white to play queen E2 and go queenside himself. Black could disrupt that if he wanted with queen A5, but it might just encourage white to go A3 and B4 and start attacking on the other flank. So with bishop D6, there's an old Karpov plan involving bishop E5 that you can play sometimes. And the other question is, when will white decide to take on G6? Okay, he's played F4, but there's no threat at the moment. Black doesn't want to play H6 because of knight takes G6.
Oh, he did play H6.
Really? Okay.
Nice.
In a real game, I'd be a bit dubious about that, but
and
now
knight takes G6 immediately.
Yep, takes, and well, black is planning to play E5 and break out that way, so white should get his king out of the middle as fast as possible. Though after E5, it's not so simple, because you don't have enough control over F4, and you will have to either push past or take, neither of which looks very attractive. So Adams seems to have a very decent position here, even though he doesn't have a pair of bishops. F5 played. So G5, so he's decided, if I've got the knights, I'll block the position. White can play H4 though, but you can take and go knight h7, and then your knight even gets to a good square on g5. So
King b1, king b8 prophylactics or something.
Yeah, h4. So I think if he takes and goes knight h7, he didn't go knight h7. He decides that g5 is not a threat at the moment. So white is going e4. You don't have to block here, but he wants it. He wants that bishop on g2 to be bad, but the problem is the g5 move. And here maybe it's g5 is possible. Take, and then put your rook on h7 or something like that. That's exactly what's happened. So he's going to swap everything and move his rook in either h5 or h7. And now his bishop on g2 can come to life. It can go to f3 and h5, for example. So rook h5, if rook h7, knight f6 was good, so first drag the bishop back to e7, and now play rook h7, drag the bishop to f6, and then bishop f3 or something like that. No, he's just gone bishop c1, and he wants that pawn on g5. So, well, Adams is definitely going to be suffering a bit on the king side, but if he does play bishop takes g5, it's liable to be some sort of bad bishop against good knight position. White has not actually managed to get his bishop to a good square yet. After a5, I don't think this is a position for a4 because you have very few pieces around your king, and black may even be able to play b5 almost instantly. So he took on g5 with the rook.
Wow, this is sacrifice of exchange.
Positional sack. At least if bishop takes rook, bishop takes bishop, he won't get mated. Now he's got to activate that bishop on g2. So he goes to f3, headed hopefully for f7 and e6, so whether he ever gets there is another question. And he wants Adams to be tied up on that g7 pawn. Whether he will be is another question. But he certainly has stopped any sort of a mating attack by black, and that's a bit of a bonus.
Goes for it with a4.
Okay, but it's not really threatening much. As long as white has a dark squared bishop, you'll never get mated. So it's time to go bishop h5, I guess, or bishop c1.
Prophylactics.
Yeah, so knight f6 perhaps, keeping the bishop out to some extent. No, just rook h7, which tempts you to go bishop h5 and bishop g6, but maybe that's not such a great square for the bishop.
Could he be afraid of a piece sack back? Rook takes h5?
Maybe, but yeah, at the moment he's succeeding in keeping that bishop from anywhere dangerous. So if it finishes on g6, we don't mind. If it comes to f7, I'm much more nervous. So queen e1 played. You may as well swap on b3 just to get those pawns out of the way. But he's keeping the tension. Queen b6, stopping queen b4, and now queen g3. That means the knight on d7 has to stay where it is to stop any queen takes e5 check, and you've got a bonus of a queen g6 at some point. So doubles bishop g2 and queen c5. Okay, overprotecting the pawn on e5 so that the knight can move. And here's where I said, white will never get mated. So he's actually just being very quickly here.
So the question is, what will he do with his g2 bishop, I guess?
Indeed. So at some point, Adams will take on b3, I reckon. Okay, he's gone rook h4 with the idea of going rook g4. Bishop f3, he might just attack that one as well, or he might go to h2. No, he had to protect g7 first. Bishop d1. And Anton is saying, in blitz, I can hang on to this because you're not really going anywhere. And Adams has to try to find a way through here. He can't easily double on the 7th. So he's actually not doing much at the moment. I'm not sure what queen b6 is in aid of. Lure the bishop to a5, it'll just come back again. And maybe king b6, but you're not doubling on the a file very easily anyway. So this is sort of very practical play by Michael Adams. Okay, the knight's headed for the king side, but as I say, I don't think it's going to mate, and they're just moving back and forth. Is Adams going to stop trying to win? That's the question. No,
Could he try the sacrifice, knight d3?
Knight takes, if he could get to the second rank properly,
Can you imagine bringing the rook on a8, rook h7 to a8? That could be dangerous.
But he decided not to. He went back. I still don't know where he's going. Is it a c5 move? Or okay, queen g3 stops c5. That's true. But okay, now take. The queen takes e5 and rook back. Okay, how good is this? Queen g3 looks playable. And Anton has now got a pawn for the exchange, so that's not too bad. Okay, queen d2 threatens nothing, but okay, suddenly rook to the 7th. Yeah, this is getting scary. Queen d6, looking for a perpetual. I doubt that there is one. There isn't one at all. He could have taken on, he checks first, see where the king goes, and now rook takes g1, and that should be game over.
Yeah, absolutely no check after queen a3, king b6.
Yep, and he'll have to resign.
Oh.
Because we can double on 7. So Adams wins again, I'd say.
That piece sacrifice was more to play for a win, but suddenly he got a pretty bad position.
Yeah, it was. Okay, let's see what else is going on. We've already had results. Wojciech beat Eduard, Studer beat Naiditsch, and Kama played a draw with Hari Krishna. So that's leaving Adams as a clear leader, actually, with Wojciech not far behind. But Studer is having a decent Blitz tournament at the moment. So it's Eduard, I think, has 0 points, if I'm not wrong. So Adams is rolling along. No, it's Naiditsch who has 0 points, and Studer and Kama have 1.5. Hari Krishna on 2. Wojciech, hang on, no, we're missing some games here. Wojciech's on 2, and he joins Hari Krishna, and Adams is on 3. So this is not an up-to-date scoreboard, I'm afraid. But we do know Michael Adams 3 out of 3. Remembering this is a 14-round tournament, and
pretty long distance.
Yeah. So the arbiters are again doing their little cleaning dance, making sure everything's okay with the pieces and so on. And yeah,
we actually have a very special guest today showing on the playing hall. It's the tournament director of Grenke Open, Mr. Sven Nopes, and we are hoping to get him later on for an interview as well. He's actually admiring, observing for now how the organization is going on, and I'm pretty sure he should be impressed by the fact all the measures are taken on.
Right. Well, I remember playing in a tournament he organized in Daisassau many years ago. Here we have an updated table. So it's Adams, followed by Hari Krishna and Wojciech, then Kama and Studer. So still those top 4 are the top 4 that we've had in every tournament so far. Right now Adams is making up a bit of ground on the leaders, and he has moved, I think, to 19.5, which will get him closer and closer to the lead. That extra point is pretty valuable. So, any news from before the tournament, Dina?
So yes, so far, as I said, we are hoping to have a special guest later on, and today we do not have any round of the Corona Amateur because it would be very noisy seeing the Grandmaster tournament playing the Blitz. Also, another thing I can add is that I think David Anton is wearing a mask during the games. Just some of the players, couple of the players are wearing their own mask, and most of them agreed to wear the special gift mask of the
tournament mask. Yes, indeed. Mm-hmm.
So yes, these are the updates from the live scene, and so far, everything is going good.
Indeed. So, and apart from that, did you get to talk to any players before the Blitz?
We did talk to them yesterday evening. We had a lot of interviews coming online and offline, and some of them were exciting, some of them were less exciting. It was not so easy to talk to David Anton yesterday evening. He did lose the game, but they all seem to be very excited about this special event.
Yeah, well, no, Blitz tournaments are always a lot of fun. It's quite strange. It's very hard to find records of Blitz tournaments quite often, and yeah, it's the winners of Blitz tournaments are sort of known by the people who are there, but yeah, apart from that, you don't get records in the record books or anything like that. A little bit like brilliancy prizes. They seem to often just be announced a month after the tournament, but nobody records them in a newspaper or anything like that. So anyway, shortly we hope to be joined by Surya Ganguly, who will, well, we've started the games. Okay, so let us have a look at Adamant, the Mickey Adams again. So
right now, I guess we are having the game of, we were having the game of Knight and Studer. But now we're
let's
moving
go
on
to the Adams game, and it's one of these quiet lines of the Gyoko piano with White playing Bishop C4 to B5 later, and also Black playing the maneuver Queen 8 B8 A7 B6. If you're wondering how the Black Queen got there, so these lines are considered pretty good equalizers, and yeah, Knight G4. Black might even think about playing F5 at some point. So Queen D2 doesn't do much. The only problem for Black will be if White gets D4 at some point in order to play D5. But at the moment, it's not really a problem because you can take once and play Knight B4, and that's a pretty good square. But he's going elsewhere. So Knight E7. He wants to go C6. So D4 played. And I guess he's going to go Knight G6 around here, which is usually a good square. So Black should have equalized here, I'd say. I wouldn't regard this as much at all for Adams. So Knight G5 is annoying, but is it really a problem to drop back to C8 and make progress later? I'm not sure at all.
C6 has just happened in the game.
C6, so he doesn't care about that, but Bishop F1 looks very natural here, just giving Black the same problems he had before. And you can take on E6, but whether you want to or not, certainly if you take and play Bishop C4, we can play D5. So that's not working so well. So he just goes Bishop F1. And okay, the White position seems absolutely safe. Black's Knight can come to F4, but can always be kicked away. So White may have some small advantage here, but it's really not much. Is Black going to go Bishop B3? No, he keeps allowing Knight takes on E6, but I'm not so sure about Rook D8. I guess we can't go Rook H3 because you've still got your Bishop. And if you want to do some sort of attack, he took on E6. So G3 now perhaps and Bishop H3 is the way to go. And it's pretty easy to defend E6, but it's the fact that the some piece has to do it is a little downside. So takes, pawn takes, I guess, queen, and wow, D5. Okay, so if we play E5, you've got time for Knight E7 and Knight F5 before the Bishop gets to H3. But and if you take on D5, I presume he's going to take with the Rook. So Queen E2 is trying to leave a weak E6 pawn.
Queen C2.
Yeah. So you don't want to take on E4, and nor does White really want to swap around here, which will fix up the pawn structure. So next move for White will presumably be G3. And it doesn't really matter if Black doubles on the F file. It's fairly easy to stop. So he hasn't moved yet. Yes, G3. In a way, I'd like to go Bishop H3, and in another way, I'd like to go H4. So Rook D2, and Adams has got every piece as he wants it. So I think he's going to be very happy around here.
And so finally, Bishop H3 we are having.
Yeah, and this is a real problem. So if you go Rook F6, then we can take on D5, and you cannot take back with a, now we take on D5. You can't take back with the E pawn. You have to take back with the C pawn to protect E6, and your position is deteriorating very quickly. So now we'll double on the E4, E pawn, and in some positions we'll go queen c5. So Adams is really taking control here. Oh no, if you double in the e-pawn, hang on, d4. So do we start with queen c5? Yeah, he has. He started with queen c5, which is a real hassle for black because it attacks the knight, and yeah, you have to swap. And now you need some way to protect e6. I guess it's going to be king f7, but then no, then we double rooks and knight f5. We take it, and you've got a big problem here.
Yes, looks like it's everything is going so easy for Michael Adams. Having his great experience behind his back really helps playing blitz.
Yeah, well, I guess he just keeps everything under control, and somehow even in blitz, it seems like this strategy works. He's way up on the clock, and yeah, it's just astonishing how easily he's done this. So I don't think you can go king f6. So king g6. Yeah, he's taking. Okay, is he only going to be a pawn up, or will he have a rook b5? So you can go rook e6 check here if you want to. Swap
Also
a pair
rook
of rooks
e7.
off. Oh, rook e7 looks good too. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. To take all the pawns and have just two passed pawns.
So then you go check and rook c2, but no, all the checks will eventually swap off a pair of rooks.
And he does go for rook e7.
Yeah, and that is probably resigning time.
d4, even not rook c2.
Well, okay, so a few checks. Oh, he's going that way immediately. Okay, so
he's trying to use his passed pawn d4, but probably will not.
There'll always be king f1, I'd say. So king back, take it, I guess. If you take with the king, we could have played rook b5 and win. So okay, now check, and now he wants to go rook c2, but now we take the rooks off the board, I guess.
Yes.
But this is not absolutely trivial.
The black king is still a little bit active, so needs to neutralize this one.
Yes, indeed. So have we got king f3? Yes, we do. And then rook b5 check, and that should be enough to get our king close to the pawn. And I don't really care if I lose 2 on the king side as long as I pick up connected passed pawns on the queen side. So maybe b3 here would be sensible. And then king e3.
Yeah, the most solid line.
Yeah, he doesn't want to lose the h-pawn as well as the f-pawn. Takes. Okay, so that king's stuck on the back rank, but you don't really worry about it. Next move can be king c1, and then rook takes a5. He played b3, same idea. So rook takes, rook b5, h5, and the pawns will queen by themselves.
Yes.
So should be easy. And he's still going, though.
Yes, they're still going, but the position looks absolutely winning.
Yep. So king c6. Do you want to stay on the 5th rank, or he went check and rook b6. So the black king can at least move up the board, but the white pawns are very, very fast. And I think this will be all over very, very soon. So
black is trying somehow to create a mating net, but there is no.
Yeah, so a6, a7 is pretty good here. I don't know whether he's going to go for that. He took that. Okay, so rook behind the a pawn. No, so he can't basically stop both pawns. If he tries to set up a mate, it's he's coming back. No, he can't come back at all. It's absolutely hopeless.
Yeah, and they finished already.
Yep. So Anton has lost, and Michael Adams goes to 4 out of 4. Pretty incredible.
Amazing results so far.
Okay, Kema and Hari Krishna is the other exciting one. That was a win for Hari Krishna. He seems to be 2 exchanges up here. Edward and Wojciech. Wojciech wins again, so he is the main chaser of Michael Adams, along with Pentala Hari Krishna. And Noel Studer has lost to Nidich. So Nidich gets off the bottom of the ladder, and he goes to 1 point. So Adams is on 4, Wojciech and Hari Krishna on 3, and then there's a real gap to the rest of the field. So those 3 are really breaking away from the rest. It's 4 rounds in. Michael Adams is looking very good, but he hasn't been able to shake off the 2 guys at the top of the tournament, who are, well, Hari Krishna and Wojciech. Wojciech is still leading the tournament. Adams hasn't made up that much ground yet, but there are 10 rounds to go. So while they're setting up for the next game, let's take another piece of music by Juga.
He played Caro-Kann, his rating was higher, but from move 17, the king's side was mine, took my chances fast. My rook was a knife, and my almighty queen, a beast on h6. My bishop was gold, his bishop was small, with no time pressure. I'd crush him once and for all. I gave up my good night, but that don't mean a thing. He has more experience, but I won't lose again. Oh, my dear Capablanca, wishful eyes deceive me. Over-optimistic, got nowhere to go, got nowhere to go. Shook his hand, signed the scores, politely as I could. I can't analyze, can't look in his eyes. Lonely hotel room, I cry my despair. Oh, did I allow any counterplay? His pieces were dead. I gave up my good night, but that don't mean a thing. He has more experience, but I won't lose again. Oh, my dear Capablanca, where did my attack go? I was clearly winning 2 minutes ago. 2 minutes ago. 2 minutes ago. Now according to Stockfish, I got it all wrong. After slightly advantage, I had nothing but my dear Capablanca. You tell me we learn more from our defeats. Who needs victories, right?
Welcome back to the Biel Chess Festival. I'm here with Dina Belankaya, and we're about to enter the 5th round of the BLITZ tournament. The game we'll be covering is the game between the two triathlon leaders, Radoslav Wojtaszek from Poland and Pentala Harikrishna from India. And they'll be playing 2 games which will probably go a long way to deciding who wins this tournament. Of course, Adams has got Edouard and may well keep on a roll, but he has yet to play these 2, and that will be very interesting when it finally happens. So the players are seated at the board and almost ready to go. The masks on. Wojtaszek with his own mask. In fact, both of them have got non-branded masks, and the game has started as a Queen's Gambit. No, it's sorry, Knight F3, and we've yeah, it is a Queen's Gambit. My apologies. With a quick bishop, it's a bishop F4 line, and well, it's absolutely standard. B6 played early. That avoids all the C5 stuff after knight bd7, and white is just developing quietly. So it feels as if, yeah, black can just take on C4, play bishop b7, knight bd7, and c5 very quickly. He decided to take the white squared bishops off. Now black could swap, but could also just play queen c. Oh no, queen c8 might lose the pawn on c7 if you're not careful. So perhaps just take and c5 makes a lot of sense. But this is the first real think by Harikrishna. We do expect Wojtaszek's openings to be pretty good given the years he spent as a second of Vishwanathan Anand. So c5 played. Takes, and he takes with pawn. That's interesting. It does avoid any knight d4 ideas, but white does have rook d1 easily. He's got a pawn to have a go at. So he'll probably play rook d1 here, and probably queen b6, but the knight would like to go there as well, so that's not so easy. And Wojtaszek's just playing absolutely normally because he doesn't feel the need to rush at all. He just has a slight advantage with the 2 disconnected pawns on the queen side to have a go against. So he wouldn't mind if quite a few pieces came off the board. He's just, well, now knight b6 is going to come, and he wants knight b6, but then queen b5 probably. You want to make knight d5 a little bit tricky to play. So no, queen e2. So black can play knight d5 if he wants, and he probably does want. First, he avoids any bishop g5 ideas and says to white, what are you doing? Well, at some point, knight e5 and queen f3 could be a useful idea. And at last, knight d5. So the, well, what, I don't understand bishop e5, although it avoids the need to swap on d5, because right now it's white seems to have run out of ideas a little bit. That knight could actually go to b4 now, just to be annoying, and perhaps come to c6 and d4 later. But he took on c3. Again, small advantage unless knight a4 causes some problems. Probably doesn't, and the pawn is protected enough. So takes. Is he really going to try and just liquidate with rook d8? Because that doesn't look completely equal. White's queen can't get to g4 easily, but that would be an absolute bonus. So you could swap, and I was thinking knight d2, but he's looking for queen e8 check. And he's also threatening the pawn on c5. Queen e7 would be very, very awkward. It'd be probably answered by knight e5. So suddenly Harikrishna has to cope with some small tactics here. I'm sure he thought that wasn't possible because the e4 pawn was hanging, but of course queen e8 check will work. So bishop e7 played. So now with queen check, he can go bishop f8, and white will have to decide, can I invade somewhere? Because in order to do so, you're going to have to lose your e4 pawn. So queen check is tempting, but you need a follow-up. Knight e5 is a good follow-up. Queen takes e4 is answered by queen takes f7. And also you're stopping any black knight d7 ideas, but there is queen e7, but it looks very awkward. We could swap and go knight c6. So Harikrishna is under terrible pressure here. And I think it's not just on the board, but on the clock. Remembering these, you only start with 3 minutes here and 2-second increment. So he's just played a waiting move, but it feels as if bishop a5 could be very nasty now, threatening bishop takes knight and then queen takes on f8 check. Instead, a4. So if the knight takes, we've got knight d7, but queen e7 is played. Now there's no weak pawn on the a7 square, but I still think we could swap, play a5. He didn't want to. Queen c6. So here, a5 is threatened and the knight is threatened. This is very, very awkward. In fact, the knight's in all sorts of trouble now. It just is very short of squares. I don't know how black can defend this. Queen d8, but there's an a5 move then. There's a bishop a5 move, but then queen d1 hangs on. And the a4 pawn is hanging. Even that looks really good. There is also queen b7 here, which looks nasty. Maybe you could afford to take on a4. Queen b7 looks fantastic, actually. So Hari Krishna is in all sorts of bother here. He played queen b7. So what can you do? If you play bishop e7, if knight c6, then you've still got the queen check. But it's dodgy, but at least you're alive. Your queen needs to cover f7. Yeah, this is what happened. So queen, knight c6, queen check, king there, bishop f8, knight e5, and you simply can't cover all the squares you need to. So I'd say white is, it's just about game over here. You can throw a bishop d6 check in order to stop, but he didn't. He wants a bishop f4 check, but in order to take the knight if it goes to e5. Clever idea, but looks like it hangs by a thread. Oh, the knight is also hanging. So can we go bishop f4 check and take on g3? Because that is the only hope. So we have to take with the king and then run away from the checks, and I think we can probably do it. King on e3 or e2 looks pretty safe. There's just one more check and then bishop d2. Oh, he tried that one. Bishop takes queen, and that's all. So yeah, it's game over. So Hari Krishna has lost badly to Wojciech, who now increases his lead at the top. Of our other games, well, let's have a look at Adams, because Adams is the big game, and it looks, well, they're both very short of time, but let's have a look. So Adams is just, he hasn't even sacrificed material to get this. Well, he must be completely winning. So rook d1, and that must, king e7 hangs on. It doesn't hang on. There's all sorts of things you can do here. Bishop takes d7 looks winning. So I think Edward is about to resign. And yep, there's check wins a piece or more. So Edward has lost. And now, whoa, so Adams goes on his merry way, 5 out of 5. The Kamer game against Studer. This is a real fight. Both sides with passed pawns. White's king can't just sit on c2 because of bishop a4 check all the time. And black has to try to whip up a mating attack, but I just don't see it. c2 now, so he still can't get his rook to d5. Bishop d3, well, he can now, but then there'll be a rook check and bishop c4. So rook c3, and now he wants to go rook e3, I guess. And that would seem, oh no, rook e3 would be answered by bishop takes pawn, and you're hanging on. So both sides are winning a pawn. Is black winning this pawn ending? It's very hard to say, but you may as well play it because black's king is something fantastic. And okay, white can play king d2 here. You'll be tied to that pawn on d1. Now you've got a big problem. Have you got enough waiting moves with white? I doubt it. And Studer is about to beat Kamer. White is just down on tempo moves. The only thing he can do is, no, he's resigned. So Kamer has fallen back in this tournament, and Studer moves up to +1. We have one more game going, and it is still going, between Anton and Nadic, and it's a queen ending. It should be winning for Anton, but Nadic is trying to queen one of his queenside pawns. Can he really go a5 here? He tried, and, well, queen d5 check was winning, I think. Okay, king d2, queen d5 check should be game over, but he hasn't found it yet. Will he play it now? He has played it, and Anton will win. So that is the end for Nadic. King d4 was not played, but so finally he comes up with that, and Anton wins another game. So let's have a look at the scores. They are with, well, Adams 5 out of 5, very, very impressive. Yeah, it's true he hasn't played the very top seeds, but he's doing very well. Wojciech is now the only one 1 point behind him on 4, and then Hari Krishna is a point behind on 3. Then Studer has replaced Kama in 4th place. Then Anton is up now on 2 out of 5. Kama has dropped right back. Nadic and Edouard make up the tail end, and on 1 point. So we have a runaway leader at the moment, but remember, we're not even halfway through the tournament. We've had 5 rounds of 14, and all the games between Wojciech and Hari Krishna against Adams are yet to come, and even Kama against Adams is yet to come. So while Adams is cleaning up the tail end of the field, he still has some pretty tough games ahead of him. And in a way, Anton's score of 2 out of 5, having already played Adams, is looking not bad at all. So this is, well, a little bit of a surprise. But as I mentioned at the start, going into this tournament, the highest world-ranked Blitz player in the field was Adams, followed by Wojciech, followed by Hari Krishna. So that's more or less what's being shown here. And yeah, Kama although he's ranked 5th in Blitz under 16, he's actually only 44th under 20 in Blitz, which is not so impressive. So it may be that Blitz is not his absolute forte. So we'll be joined soon by Surya Ganguly. He should be online sometime around about the start of the next game. So we'll welcome him. And apart from that, well, the tournament, as I mentioned at the start, is at stage 3 of a triathlon. We've already had 7 rounds of rapid with a win worth 2 points and a draw worth 1. 4 rounds of classical with a win worth 4 and a draw 1.5. And then we're already 5 rounds into a 14-round Blitz tournament. And the winner will be the person who accumulates the most points from all those tournaments. The only player who seems to be handicapped at the moment by it being Blitz is Kama, but he's completely capable of coming back. And certainly Adams is now, I believe he's caught Hari Krishna on the overall standings. So he is behind now only Wojciech by a single point. It's been very, very impressive Blitz result. Perhaps not quite Fischer back in Yugoslavia back in 1970, but even so, it's still very, very impressive. And remember, Michael Adams is taking his career year by year in a way. At 48, he's amazed himself that he can still stay at a very high level. As Alexander Morozovich mentioned, he was winning tournaments when some of these players weren't even born. His very first British Championship was as long ago as 1989. His most recent was 2019, so 30 years between British Championships. So he, at the point where he was an absolute world-class player, top 10, he very rarely played in the British Championship, which is, well, in the early years when he won it also, it was much stronger because all Commonwealth players were allowed to play. So round 6 has started, and we are going to have a look at the game between Hari Krishna and Wojciech again. And it has been a strange sort of English opening, very unusual position. it feels as if it's slightly better for Hari Krishna, but really not too much is happening. I think White is hoping for taking on d6 and playing bishop a3 at some point to get some small advantage, but Black is ready to block on c5 if need be. So d4 played. If you take, White will take with the c pawn and try and use those center pawns. Black will have to try and fight back with c5 and hopefully blockade them, but it may not be that easy. Right now, you have to protect your e5 pawn, so things are not so easy. It's all very difficult to find a good plan for Black. So knight g5 played. The knight's on a bit of a stupid square, but maybe thinking about some random kingside attack involving e4 and knight f3 and queen h4 or something like that. It's hard to believe that it actually works. So the knight on g5 is just unstable. So queen c6 is tempting, but I don't like getting my queen cut off from the king side in a blitz game, though perhaps it's okay. So I tend to go queen f5 and try to just put pressure on as much as I can. Queen d5. Okay, it's decent. We can take on d4, takes back, rook d8. It doesn't look like you can stay on that d5 square. Although maybe White is thinking about knight takes d6 at a moment when you have to take back with the pawn, because otherwise queen takes g5. So let's see. So e takes d4. So he will take back, presumably. Oh, he took back with the e pawn, so the knight's hanging. Knight e4 looks super risky. It might work after rook e1, knight takes c3, you never know. He's played it. So if White has to defend that pawn, then White's position is not very good at all. Well, I guess bishop b2 is close to equal, but you feel like Black's got very reasonable chances here. So all in all, he hasn't moved yet. He's looking at rook e1. He decided to take first on d6. Now, we could take on c3 here. It looks risky, but he just took back, not trying for anything super. So bishop a3. Well, okay, so we take on c3, you take on d6. We can swap everything, go rook d8 and knight e2 check, and we are going to be a pawn up, I think. So, yeah, that is a safe extra pawn for Black. Might be hard to win, but it's worth having. So he probably should take on d6, because if you don't, what are you going to do? Queen f3 played. So now he's losing the d pawn, but he wants to get pressure on the d file, which is a very reasonable thing to do. So we'll check and take it, and the queen has to move. It'll probably go back to d5 again, I suppose. And then we've got to find a good square for the knight. It's not so easy. Actually, we're 2 up. We're already... So knight e6 after queen d5. Just give him one pawn. If bishop d6, we've got queen d7 and rook d8. So Black is doing really well here. So yeah, queen d5. He played queen d3. Well, at least you can play the same thing if you want with knight e6. And that does look sensible. No matter where you put it, bishop takes queen d7 is the idea. And it's... Oh, rook d8. Okay. Does it make a difference? Well, it might give you more options. Oh, queen h7. Nice idea. Suddenly, we're not a pawn up, and Hari Krishna is right back in the game. He noticed that little tactic. So, okay, king g1 or g3 or something like that will work. Rook c8. Is he really going to go a5 around here? No, he protects his f2 pawn with the bishop, keeps a5 in reserve. So doubles, doesn't threaten anything. I would have thought, but he might be going rook a2 at some point. So take rook a2 looks decent. Oh, rook c4 is even quicker. That was a nice little trick. And now he's 2 up, probably king g6, and start pushing the pawns, and suddenly Wojciech is back on top again. So I think Wojciech is going to win this. He'll start pushing as fast as he can, I would think. And if bishop c7, he'll go a4, I suppose. So he's tried to knock the bishop away, but there's a check, and then there's a4. And this should be too fast. Just too fast. Even b5 is possible, but I think I like a4. Aha, okay, so white is finally trying to threaten f4, f5 to embarrass black a little bit. That's a decent idea because those pawns aren't so fast. So how do we prevent that? Not so simple. f5 played. Well, he could have held that back for a move and pushed some pawns. So rook back, so swaps, he'll still get f4, f5. So will he just keep pushing pawns with a4 and allow the bishop to move? No, he swapped in king f7. Now there's another rook check here though. Is he going to go king f6? It's a sort of position you can get into a real mess. No, he went king g6. So rook b6 again, I presume. He's taking a draw. This would be quite surprising. But it is triple repetition. So I'm not sure, not that you can actually claim it. And whoa, Hari Krishna is playing for a win here. He has less time and less pawns, but he's really going for it. So now f5 check, he'll go king to f6, so he's going for the pawn that way. So rook takes pawn check won't quite be game over, but this is a real mess now. Okay, some checks, they don't seem to do terribly much. And black is again playing for a draw. Will white move his king up and try to do better? He is. White is playing for a win here, partly because black's put a whole lot of pieces on dark squares. So yeah, there's no easy way out here, because if knight e6, there's f5. So he's setting himself up for a draw. Knight f3, rook d2, and knight h2 check will draw. That's why he's played rook d7 to stop rook d2. You may be able to play rook d2 now. This doesn't look very clever, but after rook d6, you can go king f7. Now he's picking up the g pawn for the a pawn, and at least black is not losing now anymore. White is quite short of time, but well, they're both playing on 2-second increments now. I think black is playing this for a win by charging the king in and playing knight e3, but now the white king is able to get out. So king d2, and well, we can play king takes pawn, but then king c2 is a draw, and rook takes pawn. And I think the players they haven't agreed to draw yet. Knight check. Is he winning that piece? Amazing. So now it's rook and knight against rook at 2 seconds a move. This will be fun. In normal chess, you can't actually force the king to the edge of the board. Here, I suspect it's going to be a little bit more tricky, but really this should be a dead draw. There's no realistic way of winning it, and yeah, they have agreed to draw. So black didn't see any reason to play on. Let's see how Michael Adams is going on board 3, and Adams is in a he's won. He's won this position. Wow, that looks like it was a win on time. After bishop e6, because there's nothing special here for black, apart from rook takes rook and rook c7. I guess he's a pawn up, but he must have won on time. So Adams wins again. Neidich and Anton finished as a draw, and Kamer against Studer. Kamer got back and did in fact win. Again, this looks like it might have been on time. So Kamer equalizes his match, and our scores. Wojciech is now the leader of the field, and Hari Krishna is sitting on 24.5, and Hari Krishna is on 21.5, equal with Adams. Kamer is back in 4th place, and then we drop to Studer, Anton, and Naiditsch and Edouard. So in the Blitz tournament, Adam 6 out of 6, Wojciech 5. Did he win that one? He must. Oh, no, he drew it. So that's that tally is not correct, I think. I think Wojciech is on 4.5, Hari Krishna on 3.5, and then the others, well, 3 people tied on 2.5. Those scores are at least accurate. So yeah, so don't believe the cross table. They've got the wrong. I think they've got the wrong result for Hari Krishna and Wojciech. So, in fact, I'm almost sure they have. It's not absolutely sure. I'll just check this with the arbiters. And apart from that, we're now 6 rounds in, and Michael Adams has 6 out of 6. It's really very, very impressive. And he is now coming up against Hari Krishna, which of course will be a very interesting match, and basically Hari Krishna's last chance to get back into the Blitz tournament. It's nearly the halfway mark. We've had 6 rounds already, 3 matches of 2. Yeah, so we'll just we hope to hear from Dina to about the result of the Wojciech match. During the rapid tournament, we also had one result that was entered wrongly, and certainly it's well, it wouldn't have been a normal result, and I don't think Hari Krishna was that short of time. So I'm, oh, okay. And Surya Ganguly is here. So I'd like to welcome him to the stream. So hello, Surya. Somehow I can't hear him.
Hi, can you hear me now?
I can indeed. Welcome. So Surya Ganguly, a co-worker with Radoslav Wojciech, and how are you enjoying your the play of both Pentala and Wojciech? That was an exciting match.
Very nice actually. I could not see the last one, but in general, I'm following the tournament, so it has been very exciting. And yeah, I co-work with Radek for quite some time. But also, I have spent most of my time with Hari when it comes to chess work. We have been working for quite a long time.
Is he one of the main people you work with when you're working on chess for yourself?
Yeah, one of the, for sure. I mean, I have worked with many players, and he is definitely one of them.
So how do you feel about a real chess tournament taking place face-to-face? It's pretty amazing after so many months.
Amazing. You know, like the other day I was talking to Hari, and he was saying that they have this glass shield, right?
Yes. And
he was saying that playing on 8th rank is not easy because normally I'm getting my hand like this, and here I have to sort of slide it.
Yep.
And then in Blitz it could be tricky.
Right. And so, well, Adams in the Blitz. Well, we're going to watch the Adams game, of course, against Pentala Hari Krishna. The players haven't got to their boards yet. So does he find it very awkward playing with the shield, or does it not make too much of an inconvenience?
I think it's in a way it is a bit awkward. Like we are not used to, right? But
sure.
Yeah, but then I guess we everybody adapts very quickly.
Right. Well, I mean, given they're playing the Blitz in masks, it's probably better to have a screen for a long game than to have to wear masks. So I could imagine in some countries masks would be absolutely necessary.
Right. Can you update me a little bit who is leading in the Blitz, because I actually did not see this.
6 out of 6 for Adams.
So
yeah, it's pretty amazing. And we think Wojciech has 4.5, but according to the score that was registered by the arbiters, he won that last game against Hari, which rook and knight against rook, which does seem a little bit strange. So I'm going to have to check that one out. We did have problems with the king's put on the wrong squares in the rapid tournament, and because the studio is so far from the playing hall, it's quite difficult for the producer to leave the program and find out. But we're hoping Dina might be able to tell us what happened. So, but right now it seems as if Wojciech is actually well clear in the overall standings, because Vincent Kaymer's dropped back and Hari's dropped back a little bit. So Adams is, of course, making up some ground, but so far he's only made 1 point on Wojciech. And the players seem to be ready to go.
Why are they wearing masks? I mean, in classical events, they are not wearing masks.
That's right. Well, they don't have a screen because it would be too difficult to play fast in the Blitz. True. So this is why they're going for masks in the Blitz. Right. In the Rapid, there was no great problem with the screen, but in a 2-second increment, you need to be able to reach the back rank. And right. So there are no screens in this game.
Hari actually has got, in general, very good score with Adams. He has a plus score.
Mm-hmm.
So this game
he's got believe it or not, he's got a very good score with everyone in this tournament that he's played. Right. It's quite remarkable. But yeah, Adams has never beaten him, and he's got a plus score with white and black. So it's a Spanish line. And well, you can never tell with Adams exactly which Spanish line he's going for. So
but E4, E5 you can say. E4, E5 for sure. Right.
Yeah, and after that, okay, so it's one of these lines where black is giving E5 or B5, I guess.
Yes. At some point he would play D5, I imagine, but right now I don't see that because, okay, D5, I'll play D4.
So here he's taken on E5, and so rook E8, and now he's going for D5, I guess.
So,
but can he go
D4, so I guess some kind of bishop B4.
Maybe, yeah. And then E5, has he really got compensation?
D4, no.
E5, D4.
D4.
Okay, so yeah, that looks like they're both very much in opening theory, yeah?
Yeah, I'm just thinking what happens if I take EF6, DC3, and I take back BC3, and after Queen F6, I just play D4. How is this position?
Yeah, well, possibly we go bishop to D6 and try to attack, or possibly we go bishop B6 and try to play B4, but probably white can play B4 first.
Yeah. Either way, I want to play B4. Either way, I want to play B4.
And kill the counterplay. Well, it could just be a clear extra pawn, but...
Hari goes for the second pawn.
He does. I doubt that he can keep E5, though. This does look a little bit more risky, but from the clock times, I guess they're not still in in theory. But well, it's possible for white. It is, I guess. But sorry, go on.
Yeah, I said it looks like Adams is in his preparation because he has been playing. He's blitzing out all his moves without thinking.
It is pretty fast, yeah. And knight F8, even that played quickly. Yeah, he's still got a little bit over 2.5 minutes left, I think. And
I mean, you wouldn't play knight F8 so quickly if it is not part of preparation. Yeah, like
yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
Although part of Blitz is bluff. So B4 played. So he wants the D4 pawn. And this is the first time that Adams has actually started thinking.
Yeah. I mean, bishop B6 is very natural.
Yeah, I don't want to give away too many pawns. And also, that knight on B5 could get a little bit exposed by bishop C6 or queen D7 at some point.
Hari is immediately bringing it to C4.
Yep, so knight E6.
And bishop D2, I would imagine, just to protect this pawn on B4.
He played that. And now... how do we get our compensation going? Queen D5.
No, this I already start liking white's position actually because this is two pawns. It's not even one pawn.
Yes. Admittedly, one of them is stupid, but if you ever can get F4, F5, life's going to be a lot of fun. So,
and also, you know what I don't like about black's position? That's this B6 bishop. I think it's just doing nothing, yeah? Like, okay.
And Yeah, and you can't even play c6 without giving away the d6 square. So even if you
Yes.
go bishop d5, which he did, well, is he
Okay.
really going to take on c4? If
I
he is, I'll
doubt.
play b3 first and
I doubt.
make sure he really doesn't want. He played b3, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So apart from the time advantage, which is now down to only 30 seconds, it doesn't look that great for Black because he doesn't have any obvious counterplay. He's got his bishops, but
yeah, his main trump is this d5 bishop and e6 knight. So finally he allows knight d6 as well.
Because he wants to go bishop c7 later.
Yeah.
And we could perhaps just go queen a1. Oh, okay. He wants his f4.
Yeah, he just wants f4.
Yep.
Nah,
this is scary.
I think objectively white is simply crushing here. But yeah, okay, it's a blitz game, so we don't know how things will unfold.
Yes,
yeah.
Objectively, well, okay. Clock times are not equal, but only 15 odd seconds difference now, so it's really looking better. But yeah, at some point, queen a1 could cause some problems, and then queen a6 or 7 or something like that.
Maybe also good time to attack the d4 pawn. Yeah. Just I was going to say, just play some queen a1, queen f2, and let Black decide what he wants.
And then rook a1 and see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah. Hari really enjoys when queens are getting off.
Aha. Okay. And the a file for the rook, I guess.
Yeah.
And off we go. Yep. So this is getting really good. Clock times are now equal. So there's not even that. So I guess Adams is looking for knight f3, g5 to create some counterplay. But we can throw a rook check in first if we want.
There is now knight d6 is coming. Knight d6 and rook a7 check is also looking very scary.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't mind. So he's taking first, and now he wants knight d6.
Even takes and rook a8 could be quite annoying, by the way.
True.
Yeah, that's what he played. Yeah.
Okay, so there's no tricky c5 here.
Because then I give check and then I play b5.
Yep.
So now I'm threatening to take on g5. I'm expecting some rook g8 or rook g8 play.
Okay, so and how do we come in?
Now we have to. White has to come up with some ideas. You know what is? One should calculate knight d6, bishop b3, knight f7.
I'm thinking knight d6 to g4 will be the answer.
That's also true.
And just send that knight back. That's what's happened.
That's what happened.
Okay, just a quick update, by the way. Wojciech did not beat Hari Krishna in round 6 as registered, so it was in fact just a draw. Which means that in the tournament, Hari is equal with Kama in overall standings.
But wait, now now b3 is lost.
It's true, but you have g3 and knight g2 maybe?
Yeah.
Or is that too slow? Oh, he played f4. Okay, so Adams has got the scary-looking counterplay. I'm sure the computer is saying Adams is killing it, but actually this looks really unclear. So
in a blitz game, yes. In a blitz game,
yeah.
Yes.
So f3 and then Are we? So rook here. What about rook f8?
Then he will take, I guess, and king f1.
Take back.
And king f1.
He's played it. King f1. We go f2.
That's true. I don't see anything.
Maybe black's winning. Is that possible?
No.
Oh,
yeah.
he took.
Rook d6 and rook d6 from no.
Oh, no. Yes, a knight d4.
Why didn't he take knight d4? At least.
I don't know. Oh, bad move order. Shocking move order. And suddenly black's winning again.
Maybe. Yeah.
This is an extra piece and a wonderful d pawn.
Gosh.
Rook d1. Game over, yeah?
Rook d1 game over. It's
yeah,
it's very shocking.
It's all over, and in fact Hari has resigned.
Yeah.
I think he actually lost on time.
No, but such a turn of events. I mean, there was a moment
unbelievable.
There was a moment where he was clearly better without any immediate counterplay.
Yeah, it is. When you play f takes g5 in a blitz game, you've got to be sure you're going to win one of those pawns, because otherwise you're allowing some mobile pawns. So it would have been easier just to allow g takes f4 and just play on the queen side. But he allowed that counterplay, and I mean, I'm amazed how strong it was, to be perfectly honest. And maybe it wasn't, because knight takes d4 would have worked. But Adams fights back, and so our other games, Knightage beat Studer, Anton beat Eduard, and Kamer and Wojciech played a draw. So Hari moves closer to the lead, and closer to Wojciech. But do we have some scores? I think we.
Adams is 6 out of 6.
Absolutely 6 out of 6. Pretty amazing, eh? And
indeed.
So let's see. We have Adams on 6. No, hang on, 7 rounds. Sorry, Adams
7
on
rounds.
7
rounds. 7 out of 7.
2-point gap to Wojciech, and then a 1.5 from him to Anton and Hari Krishna. And the tournament is really getting shaken up here. Vincent Kamer is dropping out of contention with only 3 points. Knightage, Studer, and Eduard is really consolidating last place. Go on, Siri.
Yeah. I was asking who is the second youngest player in this tournament, because Adams leading 7 out of 7 in blitz in a field where players are half of his age.
It's true, but he is the highest ranked blitz player in the field. He is still number 35 in the world at 48, which is pretty good. Studer, I think, is the second youngest at 23, and Anton is 25. So there are 2 players half his age, and Anton is only breaking that record by having a birthday. So it's really impressive stuff from Adams, and I'm quite impressed, because remember, Hari is one of the 2 people that we thought were going to stop him, along with Radislav. So it's a 2-point lead already, and 3.5 points over Hari Krishna. So that's a massive lead in the blitz. Go on.
I mean, literally unbelievable. I mean, at the age of 48, he's crushing these youngsters in blitz. This is not easy at all. I mean, you have to have your own class for this.
I seem to remember at 48, Anand did rather well in the World Rapid Championship too.
Yeah.
So it's possible. I mean, you may be old and needing a walking stick, but you can still play a little bit of blitz chess.
Absolutely.
And, no, I mean, Adams is of this generation of the late 80s with Gelfand and Ivanchuk, and in fact, all those 3 all played the World Junior back in 1988, and Anand was I think he won the World Junior the year before that. They all stayed really good into their late 40s.
Yeah.
And
did you hear yesterday what Grischuk said in live commentary? He said, looking at Anand's and Gelfand beating Ding and all, he said, I now feel our generation is the weakest one. All older generation players were stronger.
Yes, well, in fact, I had that said to me when I was part of the Yusupov generation, and at some point Nigel Short said to me, well, you guys have just been completely passed by, because 3 years younger were Adams and Kasparov and all sorts of people. So I've lost your sound, I think. Surya, briefly.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Yeah.
So
okay.
So we're staying with Adams and Hari, because Hari desperately needs to fight back.
Right. And Adams played Rosolimo. He has played Rosolimo, I don't know how many number of times. It's one of his pet opening.
Yep. And let's see how it's going. So, okay, so they're blitzing out the moves, and it's certainly an old main line. Bishop g4, bishop e3, I think, and white is supposed to be very slightly better.
Sure.
But he didn't. He played d5, knight d4. This keeps it very complicated. So knight bd2, and well, you can swap off that at any time, but yeah, rook c1 is awkward. You're going to have to go bishop d3 now to avoid an invasion on c2. And even here, can we play queen c7? No, he didn't bother. So the only question is whether that knight on f6 can get to d7 and c5 quickly. But
yeah,
actually,
He will
Yeah,
take on
I
f3
think-
and go knight d7 immediately. Or
Yeah,
maybe castle
yeah.
first and then knight d7.
Yep. And
Once again, I would
Okay.
say black has got very comfortable position. This is nothing to be scared about.
no, if you put a rook on b1, okay, he didn't. But yeah, black is nice and active here. It's like a rather good accelerated dragon or something along those lines.
Exactly so.
So let's say a3, thinking about b4.
That makes sense.
Yeah, we make some holes on c3 that things can jump into, though. So, and the knight can always go via e5 if it needs to.
Yeah. Also, to be honest, queen on a4 is not bad at all. I mean, a3, queen a4, I don't see how this queen will be removed either.
Yeah, so... but at least now you can take the c file. So you can put something on the c file and try and... Ooh, that doesn't look threatening at all.
But I don't think it's meant for threatening, but I think it's more about stopping knight e5. And queen a4 played, I also thought queen on a4 is kind of nice square.
And knight c5 one day.
Yeah.
So rook d1, knight c5, he wants to go back to
He wants
b1.
bishop b1. He wants bishop b1.
So let's start
Basically,
with
any other move, he'll play bishop b1 also, I think.
Oh, no, he went queen c2. I wanted to start with queen b3, actually. Queen b5, and this ending is interesting, and you really regret playing f4, I reckon, if the queens come off. So, because we always have knight a4 if we want a slightly better position. So let's double first and keep knight a4 in reserve.
You might have to watch out for e5 at some point.
Usually I leave it alone. You think I should swap first? No, then I don't have knight a4.
Then
so,
you don't have knight a4.
Yeah, let's double. No, e5 played.
That's very interesting, actually.
He wants to hit f4.
f4 pawn is hanging. After d6, bishop d4 and knight e6, c2 is hanging. Yeah, so this forces d5.
So takes. He's going to take with what, actually?
But yeah, this is what I dislike. Maybe knight d7 now.
It's clever. And e6 perhaps? It's very messy, but
then at least I can
C2.
take on d4, take on c2, and then collect the d7 pawn.
Yeah, yep. And you better collect it very quickly, because otherwise it could be in terrible trouble. And that looks like a dead draw, actually, doesn't it? With e6. So I think that white has no advantage here, but he also... So what? Oh, bishop d3, b4 takes,
and knight d3.
And knight takes
bishop
e5.
e5. Bishop e5.
Yeah. Okay. So now, this could be a quite a nice. Well, he's willing to give away a pawn in order to avoid getting a bad bishop endgame.
Yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense.
Classical understanding.
And is that bishop trapped? Not really.
Yeah, just what I was thinking. Like now, what to do with this b2 bishop? Probably I'll put it on c3. a3 even.
Yeah.
That's tricky. So rook b1.
b1 is scary.
Okay. Well, rook c8. Yeah. Only when you attack, I'll play rook c3.
Or bishop c1. So yeah, double the rooks. And that's probably quite okay. Clock times, by the way, are significantly better for black. So bishop b6 played. The rook, I guess, will go to c3.
Then you go to bishop d4. I think Adams will be happy with the draw in this position.
Well, actually, if you swap rooks off, then bishop c7. So he just went rook c8. Okay, so rook b1. He wants to trap that bishop. And the bishop is coming out.
Bishop c1, finally. This bishop needs to go to somewhere in g7 or f4.
40-second advantage for Hari Krishna, almost. So that's not bad.
I have a feeling that he missed this rook a2, rook a7 idea.
But, okay, so rook f1. He'll presumably dump it on g3, no, g5. Not sure where he's going from there. So bishop d4, but you're not really going to take, are you? Oh, maybe d6, d7, you might take.
Why not? Why not to take? Get a chance,
so
you'll take it.
he's going to get a chance because he's got no squares for the knight. Maybe c4.
It's very interesting that this rook on c8 is suddenly doing nothing. And slowly, I think just white is taking over. Already, I prefer white's position now.
Yes, and Hari has almost caught up on the clock now, which is definitely not what
Yeah,
he wanted.
now definitely white is taking over.
So watch out for knight f3 check. He did.
It's amazing. It's amazing how black got outplayed from once again from such a good position.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So just a normal position.
Rook c7, bishop d8. That's his trick. Rook c7, bishop d8 he wanted.
Okay. So
king, just some king moves probably.
He can swap bishops and go rook c7, can't he? If bishop d8.
Then b6, then b6. And yeah, I don't mind having both the rooks on 7 rank because f7 is very nice
on e5. Exactly right. Okay, so maybe this is like a draw.
Now they're drawing.
No?
Now they're drawing.
No, the bishop came back to e3.
Hari doesn't want.
No, I think Adams didn't want. Yeah.
Adams didn't want, yeah.
So how do we make progress? So not so easy. Bishop d4. He goes bishop f6 again, I guess. And king h1
is playing very solid. What happens to rook c7 now, by the way?
Knight f3 again.
Okay, take on b7.
Is that rook? They draw the petition. Okay.
Oh, Hari is thinking.
No, it's still going. So it does feel as if it should be a draw. And, well, Hari should make the draw because he's running very short of time.
Yeah.
And I think they looked at each other and they've shaken hands. So Hari, the first person to stop Michael Adams. Pretty amazing. Let's go and see how Adams' main rival Wojciech is doing against Kama, and it seems like it is pretty good. Or is it? No, hang on. Kama is 2 pawns up on the king side. Gee. So this is not so easy.
Who is
do we White is
Radek is right, yeah.
Yeah, he's in all sorts of trouble. So where's the king going to go though? King e7, suddenly he's allowed rook h6, and it's not so clear.
But f3?
f3.
Well, black is very active here.
Now b4? Yeah, but how do these pieces get all over the shop? There's suddenly the e4 pawn is under attack. But we can start with f3 if we need, f2 if we need to, but I still don't see how we're making any progress. So rook d3.
Okay, so king f8 is interesting because he wants to have rook takes e3. With the king on d6, that would not have been possible.
Yes, but here...
Now knight into e4? Why?
I don't know what Wojciech is really doing here. King g8 looks crazy.
Oh, somebody lost on time. Maybe.
Or they agreed to draw.
No? They agreed for draw in this position?
Yeah. Because if you go to the g file and rook to e8 or rook to e7, and then you're suddenly not winning. So, okay. Okay, let's... So that was a
I'm certainly thinking king g8, rook e7, rook e3, rook takes e6, and there is f2, yes? Game kind of still...
There is f2. Knight f1.
Rook e1.
King d2.
Rook takes f1 and king e2, yeah?
King e2 and draw. Well, yeah, almost certainly a draw. So we only had one decisive result in this round, and that was Nadic beating up the tailender Eduard. But Anton was also held to a draw by Studer. And so the scores at the moment, well, it's a clear advantage for Wojciech in the overall standings, but in the standings in the Blitz, Adams is still 2 points clear of Wojciech. But, and yeah, there's still a point and a half. So nobody really made up much ground here. Nadic moves up to -1. Eduard is really having a hard time. But right now in the overall standings in the triathlon, we've got Wojciech 3 points clear, no, 2.5 points clear of Adams, who is half a point clear of Hari Krishna, who is 1.5 points clear of Kama. And there is a 8-point gap then to the rest of the field. So
how does it go? Like, so
4
Why
points
hurry
for a classical win, 1.5 for a draw, 2 points for a rapid win, 1 for a draw, 1 point for a blitz win, half for a draw. So a
And
blitz
why
game
hurry?
is
Yeah,
one
sorry.
quarter worth of a classical.
Right. And why Hari played 2 games with Adams consecutively?
Because it's a double round robin. Everyone plays a pair of games against their opponents with
So
each
like
color.
immediately it is going. It's not like you first play 7 players and then repeat the colors. It's not like that.
No, it's
Okay.
stay in the same seat. As little movement as possible in COVID times, I guess.
Right.
And right now you can see them scrubbing the board down. Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, every game they remove all the pieces, they take them off to be washed, they replace them with a new pair of pieces, they scrub the board, they scrub the clock. It's and in the Blitz tournament, that's pretty difficult to do every 5 minutes. They are falling a little bit behind on the clock, but really it's hard work for them. And
very impressive. I mean, I'm seeing this first time, and it's like really impressive what they're doing out there.
Yeah, and
I have played in this place. I'm sure, Ian, you must have also played in Biel.
I played Biel many times, maybe 10 times.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. They never cleaned my board between rounds. I just don't understand. So
yeah,
these guys have privileges.
Mm-hmm.
So, in general terms, when do you see chess coming back in India? Over the board chess.
I don't know when this will happen. And very interestingly, like I also got invitation for Spanish League and German League somewhere in September. I would love to play, over the board. But I also confirmed, but I also told my team, everything depends if the flights will be taking off or not.
Are you legally allowed to travel outside India at the moment?
I don't think so at the moment. I don't think it's possible right now. Yeah,
I'm not allowed to travel from Australia until the end of the year, which is why I'm commentating long distance. And so, yeah, I would be a little bit surprised if you were okay to travel in September, but you never know. Well, I mean, can you travel for work or as a exception?
I guess so. I don't know about internationally, but domestic flights are still on. And time to time there are lockdowns. Like today, my city is completely locked down. Nobody can go out.
Right.
But, but by the way, like looking at your background, it doesn't feel like you're in Australia. Definitely, it feels like you're right there. So that was very nicely done.
Yeah, I stole one of the pictures from the tournament website, but yeah, I've certainly got other options if I want. I can be just outside the Congress House if I want to be. So plenty of options with Zoom background, I must admit. It looks like a rather nice day, whereas Bill's been having a bit of rain. So possibly people will realize it's not legit. And there was someone who asked why Maxime Legrave wasn't, or whether Maxime Legrave was playing. He was invited, I believe, and you can actually notice him over my shoulder. So he may have secretly turned up, but decided not to play, but to be a cleaner or something like that.
Yeah, this is a much younger Maxime, though.
It is. This is after he won in 2009, I have to admit. The players are not at the board yet, so there's a bit of a gap. I guess, they've played 8 rounds so far, so only 6 to go. And, well, Adams is looking really good, but let's see. He has Kamer now, and Kamer is sitting in 4th place. Well, he could, it's quite possible. These are the youngest hands against the oldest, and I think we'll follow that one. We'll stay with Adams since he's definitely the pace setter of the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. Jan, I wanted to ask you, like, when was the first time you played?
My first year in Biel was my first year on the European circuit, which was 1983, and
the year I was born.
Yeah, it opened up all sorts of possibilities for me because at the tournament, all sorts of people came up and said, "Can you play this tournament? Can you play that tournament?" And yeah, I finished up playing a number of tournaments in Yugoslavia after that, and yeah, I played the next 5 years in Biel, I think. So no, next 4 years, because I won the B group, I qualified for the A group, went down again, won the B group, qualified for the A group, went up again, and so on, and yo-yoed a little bit. But yeah, it was great times. I mean, there were all sorts of people I'm just privileged to have played against, like Viktor Korchnoi and Robert Hubner and Polagaevsky and all these guys that you read about in the books. And suddenly I was there, and I suspect I was overawed by it. These were the guys I'd studied, and you suddenly sit down to play and you think, gee, a draw would be a good result, which is not the way I play chess. And so it was awesome. It really was. And of course, Biel is a lovely place. How many times did you play?
3 times, I think.
And how did you go?
3 times. I was very close to winning once. The B group, I never played in A group. I was very, very close to winning B group once. I had to win last game. I was winning, but I think I made a draw, and I came third. And I won the rapid section though, but not the classical.
And yeah, and did you go climbing mountains and to the lake and so on?
Yeah. I went to Interlaken and those sites.
Okay, so we have some moves, I think, in round 9. Adams against Kamer.
This is Karokan 95.
Yes, I wrote an article for the New in Chess, Secrets of Opening Surprises, on this once, and it was very difficult not to say it was complete rubbish.
Well, Harikrishna bet Drev once in a classical game. I think it was in Spanish League.
Yes, yeah, but it's almost like you're playing a very, very weird Panov-Botvinnik attack.
Right.
With A6 thrown in, which is useless, and knight E5, which may be useless, maybe not. So, okay, and so White is trying to hang on to the pawn. I don't believe it can be done, but okay, well, so bishop B7, queen F3, I guess. No, he's giving it back. So knight takes D5, queen F3, perhaps. Even then, there's E6. Yeah, so it doesn't look like much.
Yeah, black is again comfortable, but as we saw in some of these games, Adams is particularly good in giving pressure, even when seems like nothing is happening.
I wonder if he's thinking knight E4, knight C5.
Queen F3, E6, I expect.
Played. And now so he just wants an ending.
No, he wants to take because B8 knight. Yeah, this is the problem. He will simply take everything.
And what now, though?
Yeah, I guess any move black will take bishop into E5 because otherwise how?
Yes, and knight C6. Yeah.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, yeah, bishop E3 and F4.
Bishop E3 is a very interesting move to anticipating bishop E5, D5, knight C6, F4.
Yeah, and then D4 though.
Yeah, bishop F2, and keep going.
Okay.
But yeah, I also don't know what else black can do. If not bishop E5, anyway, white is going to play rook C1 next.
Indeed, yeah. So yeah, and also you need your knight out as fast as you can. Rook A7.
No, I know what white will play. Bishop E5, D5, knight C6. White will first play bishop C5 and then
C5?
play F4 maybe.
Right.
If,
get the
if rook C8, then bishop D6. Yeah, get the bishop on somewhere.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm thinking rook A7 and knight D7 here, but it still allows knight C6, which and then actually that's winning because knight E7 and knight D5.
Yeah, I'm curious what black is thinking. Is he thinking of F6?
Yeah.
I don't know. No, finally he took.
Okay. And knight C6. So bishop C5.
Bishop C5. I'm thinking. Yeah, like rook C8. I will be forced to put my bishop on D6. So, and now suddenly I'm not sure. Do I want my bishop on D6 or not?
Then I could switch with rook D8 and think about F6 sometime. But yeah, the D pawn could be rather weak. The D5 pawn. F4 he allows D4. That is curious.
Yeah. Actually, D4 even bishop D2 is possible, and then play along the C5.
Yeah, but it certainly doesn't look scary. So he's allowed rook d1. He's probably a bit better here.
Yeah, rook e8 was very curious decision, I must say.
Has he got tricks somehow?
I don't
I'm
see.
trying to.
I don't see
Yeah.
any tricks here. Like
I was thinking rook a c8 and knight b4 in order to play knight c2.
rook a,
Yeah.
So rook a8, I take rook d5. What do you want?
No. I wanted to do it instead of f6.
Sure.
And then and so I don't know if you can take on d5, but you could go rook c1 anyway. And then I wanted knight b4, and I was hoping for the best.
Right.
But okay, f6 looks a bit funny. Rook c1 looks decent.
Now what? Rook c8 he has to play, yeah?
But then take on f6 and take on d5.
No. Well, take on f6, I take on e3.
Oh, sorry, the bishop's going.
Yeah.
Okay, knight a5. So he's trying to get different compensation. He's trying
No,
to
but
knight c4 idea.
But what will he do for b3 here? Just simple.
Absolutely. Or rook d5, knight c4, bishop d4. And suddenly then you play b3 first, would you?
I mean, yeah, if I have to play a move in 1 second, I'll play b3, and after if I take rook d5, and I know I'm better there.
Right. Yes, true.
It's just, I mean,
it's very Adams-like too, isn't it? To start with b3.
Yeah, I mean, unless there is something concrete. Yeah, b3 he played, yeah.
Right, and maybe we're threatening rook c7.
We are threatening all sorts of things now. If e5, I'll just take rook takes d5 or play bishop b6. Yeah, bishop b6.
Okay. So knight b7, rook c7.
Rook c7 or rook d5, both.
Knight d8.
Rook d5. Not rook d5, f5.
He went to d6. Okay, well, now I'm thinking I can take on d5.
No, it's completely gone.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah. No,
he can put a knight on f5, but it can't stay there. This is collapsing around Kama's ears, I think.
Yeah, this whole knight a5 felt wrong.
It's true, but I think his knight needed to be on e6 to cover g7, so he had to go knight d8, knight e6.
If I play rook c6, don't I win on the spot?
Looks pretty good, doesn't it?
It's resign, right? Immediately.
Yep. And he's played it, and
wait, I cannot follow the
plan.
Okay, this is lost.
Okay, he won't play on here, I don't think. He will play on here.
Yeah. No, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Bishop
okay,
let's do or something.
Yeah, let's move on to another game. So let's have a look at Nidich and Hari Krishna. Whoa, this looks just as bad. Hari is dead here.
Yes.
Absolutely dead. Knight c8. Do we want to check and take on f6?
I would play rook b8.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, played.
And as black, I will resign here.
Yeah, I think Hari is going to resign, so we don't have to stay with it.
Yeah.
King d7, you double, c6 looks terrible. Then check and rook c7. Yeah, okay, it's game over.
Rook b7 check, and I think here Hari will resign.
Yeah. He will have to resign. He's still playing on, but nothing to do. Absolutely nothing to do. Let's take some pawns or... Yeah. Okay, so let's leave this one and see how Wojciech is doing, the main challenger of Adams. And Wojciech is absolutely killing Studer here as well. So he can play e4 if he wants, and king e... don't know. He didn't bother. Okay, so f4, he wants a bishop h4 check. I'm not even sure that... Oh, sorry, you have to... Your rook on b8 is a problem, so he went rook b7 to stop all that. Now h3 is in trouble. He might as well...
Also winning. Just takes an e4.
Oh, yep, he did. He took an e4. So he's winning too. So is there a game we haven't seen that's actually still exciting? Because this one is game over. So let's go to Anton against Edouard. And this one, well, in Blitz, I'm not sure who's better. Should be black, but it's not very winnable, I wouldn't have thought.
This is very interesting.
Yeah. H4 is a nice idea, but bishop g4, he played Okay.
Yeah, this is easier to hold. Takes and then just
Yes.
take on e6.
Indeed.
Take on e6 and then there's a
And
draw.
this one will be a draw as well. So we now know that Wojciech has won, Nidic has won, Kamer is still playing on, which is a bit late. So, but okay, that's the only. So this is a dead draw, as long as you keep all your pieces protected. So let's just see if Kamer has any hope at all. Can he get rid of the pawns and get a wrong rook pawn and at least make it technically difficult? He has made it technically difficult. Unfortunately, his king's nowhere near going to the queen side, which would be rather nice. But black can play rook b5 and rook d5 and try and get the king across.
Yeah.
So
I'm expecting bishop g5 check and king f2 probably. Oh no. Rook c2. That was very surprising again.
Yeah. So, well, white hasn't made progress yet.
And now it's a draw.
That's a draw?
Oh, why didn't he play rook c2? Previous move.
Oh, it's a good question.
Okay, now rook takes b4 it's not there.
Not working yet, but
Or rook c2 was draw on the spot.
Yeah, so
this game is going to go forever. If
it is going to go. Yeah. And so is white ready to go around the side and take a pawn? He is. Okay, so Adam's technique is good, but this is not easy with not much time. Oh, rook takes rook a7, bishop c5.
Yeah. Okay, now
Talk
this
about
is
good luck.
Yeah, now this is winning.
It is winning, but it takes some work.
Sure.
First, you have to get your king across somehow.
Okay, this you'll get. You'll play bishop c3, bishop d4 immediately.
He just did. Okay, and then king d3. So he's coming around. I guess he's So rook c7 will start, and now king b5.
Yeah, this is basic technique. This is winning.
It is, but the hard part gets when the king gets to a8.
Yeah,
and there's a little while to go there.
Yep.
And 2 seconds move, of course.
He blundered. Yeah, bishop takes c1.
Oh, and he didn't see it.
Oh.
Okay. But he resigned anyway. Lost on time, actually. Lost on time. Well, it's a winning rook and bishop against rook ending. Yeah. So Adams wins again. This is absolutely fantastic. I think that goes to 8.5 out of 9. This is really, really impressive. Wojciech is doing well just to keep pace. So Wojciech is staying ahead, but Adams is clearing out from Hare Krishna and Kamer. Wojciech is still 2 points clear of Adams in the overall standings because he's only one behind here. Adams was in 4th place going into this tournament. But there's a 2-point gap now, and it's Anton and Nidic. So Hare Krishna and Kamer are just dropping down the standings. But even then, there's an 8-point gap between Kamer and Anton in the overall standings. They were that far behind.
Right.
Certainly you can't win the tournament in the Blitz, but you can throw it away. And unless Kamer and Hare Krishna start accumulating points, they... oh, hang on. This is this the standings? Then
this is the total standing, yeah.
Then it's only a 6-point gap to Nidic. That's not so bad. Yeah, that's... absolutely decent then. Notice Adams fell 4 points behind Wojciech in the rapid, but he's making up the ground to some extent in the Blitz. So it's going to be very tight at the top, and I think Kamer and Hare Krishna are going to have to really go hard in the classical at the end.
How many more rounds left now?
3 classical rounds left, so
and
possible 12 points. And Blitz, this is round 9, so there are 5 left. That's not a lot of time. Well, Kamer is 5 points behind Adams, so it's really not a lot of time.
Yeah.
So that is...
Adams is in great shape. He's playing simple chess and very, very classy.
Yeah, and he was saying it's just nice to be able to lead a normal life in Switzerland, where there's limited restrictions because of COVID. They've done pretty well, and so it's they're careful, of course, but you can go to a restaurant, you can even go to a nightclub, which is pretty amazing in most countries, and yeah, it's just living a more or less normal life.
Right.
Whereas in England's got quite a few restrictions, compulsory masks in all indoor areas, that sort of thing. So it's pretty tough.
By the way, Ian, is it possible to change the background? It's kind of looks spooky the way Bashir is, Maxim is looking at me time to time. Yeah?
Absolutely, yes.
While I'm commenting, he's giving me the tough look. What are you saying? Yeah, everything is wrong.
Okay, let's have like Biel.
Beautiful, beautiful.
So, and is that Bashir in the background? Probably not.
No.
Yeah, I mean, he is simply the most successful player in Biel ever.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's won 5 tournaments. After 2019, he didn't win for another 4 years, but then he won 4 in a row. Okay, we're off. And okay, well let's choose a game. It's got to be Adams again, doesn't it? So let's go to the Adams game.
Sure.
And it's a funny sort of English against the Queen's Gambit, and Adams, as usual, just plays natural moves and sees what happens after that.
Yeah.
So take knight b5.
I expect some kind of knight b5 and bishop e5, and I was going to say maybe go for g3 systems.
Mm-hmm. So what's he trying to do? Rook c1, c5 doesn't seem so scary.
Yeah, even c6 and knight c7, knight b6 maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, no, knight c5 of course. Yeah. Why should I put it on c7?
So we could play d4 and have our bishop outside the pawn chain, and it'll be a bishop f4 Queen's Gambit. And that gives us a chance to...
I actually like black here because I don't see what white got out of the opening. I mean, it's also easier to play from black side. The c3 knight is not doing anything.
Mm-hmm. So will he go back to g3 and allow knight h5? No, he went h3. Okay, so... Okay, he's hiding the bishop on h2. That is a very good blitz strategy. It covers b8 and various other things. So here, yeah, white would love to go e4, but he can't because of d4 all the time, so he plays d4. And this is a very strange exchange, Queen's Gambit, I have to admit. The knight on e6, yeah, would have liked to have gone to e4 if d4 had been played earlier. But,
on the other hand, white is not going to get any kind of minority attack. That is one. And second is he's not going to get e4 ideas also quickly. I expect him to go knight e5 here.
Mm-hmm. And then f4.
Yeah, something. Yeah, like somehow maneuver.
He's very patient. There's no bishop b4 anymore, so do you understand rook e7?
Yeah, I mean, just making some useful moves in general.
Okay. Finally, when white threatened b4, he decided it was time to go c5.
No, also it's very important white played a3. So b3 is kind of soft. So then c5 makes more sense.
Yep. So I don't think white's worse here, to be honest.
No,
even if it's exchange Queen's Gambit, because you have some squares.
Sure.
I mean, yeah. So black's continually thinking about knight e4, I would say.
Knight e4. Black wants to play knight e4 next move.
Yeah, so should we go bishop b5, or will you just go bishop c6 anyway? So, okay, queen b2. Hoping for some long diagonal tricks after knight e4.
Even here, knight e4, bishop g7, there is knight g7.
True.
But I wouldn't play knight e4 here.
You don't need to.
Oh no, he did.
He did.
So bishop g7, knight g7. I was getting a little bit scared of this knight g7, knight e5 ideas actually.
Mm-hmm.
And now knight e5. This I did not like.
Mm. So what can we do here? Do we take on c5 and try and play a knight a? He did, yeah. Try play knight a4 stuff. Took with knight, so bishop back to e2, I suppose.
Or b5. b5 maybe also.
Mm-hmm. Or, yeah, I was actually thinking Adams would go bishop f1, being the sort of player that he is.
Now knight e2 or knight d4. Knight e2 I was.
d4?
Wow.
Take knight e4 anyway?
Wow, b4. I didn't understand d4.
Okay, can we take on d5? No, too late. So knight e2 and bishop d3.
Bishop d3.
So now knight d6 and knight c4. He's going to go to c4, I think. and that should be okay for black. You've got a slightly better bishop. You've got a d4 square, but Kama's got to be careful that it doesn't just peter out to nothing. I wonder if queen e5, he decided that square was a knight square, but knight c4 now is annoying, really annoying. So I think you're losing a lot of your advantage here.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, if you have to take and play, like, okay, now already it's about play. Yeah, I don't. So this. No, but c3 I don't see it. No, c3, knight c3.
3, yeah.
h5.
h5, yeah, that's what I'm looking at. Knight f6, king f8.
No. c3, knight c3. You don't have knight f6. So c3, knight c3, h5. You have to go somewhere else.
Oh, sorry, I thought h5 immediately. Okay, c3 first. Okay, but now white's got a pawn. So
yes.
h5, you can go wherever you like.
But where?
Yeah. Well, h2 if you have to. You want to go queen
then
g4
queen d3. Then queen d3 or queen g5.
Okay.
You can play knight e5 here because queen g5 there is f4,
okay,
so knight e5 there is bishop g2. So who knows?
Okay. If we start with rook d1, you can't go queen g5 because of. And I think you can't because of knight e4.
Bishop e4 and knight f6.
Knight f6. Yeah.
Okay. And if I play after rook d1, if I play queen somewhere else, let's say queen h4.
Yeah, that's a better square. Can I go knight e4 anyway, or is that not working? It might be working. I don't know.
It could be.
Yeah.
Although I don't see it because after h4 or knight f6 I have king f8 and I don't see.
He just went knight e5. Okay, so
I thought I thought bishop g2 is possible.
Queen g5 f4.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Well,
but queen g3 counterplay.
Yeah, but why not bishop g2? Why not bishop g2?
Indeed. Oops. So Adams is back in the game again, and maybe more. So
F4.
How do you play this?
f4. Wow.
f4. Okay.
I would take on h3.
Yep. I would also think about bishop a8. Oh, he went to b7.
b7. Mm-hmm.
So he wants queen h4, and it's going to be very nasty. Yeah, keeping that bishop makes a lot of sense. So what can you do?
Now I just like black position. I think it's
knight b5. So now you can bring your queen over to the king side after queen h4.
Wait, queen h4. He wants queen f2. That's his point. Yeah?
Oh, but you've allowed queen d5. Game over, yeah.
Queen d5 is resigns probably.
Yeah.
Queen d5 is resigns.
Whoa. So, Adams is thinking about it. He's got plenty of time.
Yeah, queen d5
it was Kamer who was running short of time.
Yeah.
He's played queen d5, and I think he has to give it away, doesn't he?
Oh, it's mate. Queen h1 and queen g2 is mate.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And game over. Oh. So Adams wins again. It's so impressive. Okay, let's see what else we've got. Anton has already won his game against Eduardo, who's having a horrible time. Let us have a look at Hari Krishna.
Yeah, let's check his game.
Losing again against Nidich. This is game over. And he has, in fact, just resigned. Okay, and that leaves one game, Wojciech against Studa. So, Wojciech looks like he's got a lot of pressure there with black. So, question is there an easy way to defend c7, or should you just go c6?
He just decided to give it.
Yeah, and play rook b3. Clock times at the moment...
This is
very, very bad for white.
Yeah, and also it's so much easy to play from black side. Just play rook b3 and start collecting pawns. Rook takes a3 and then it will be...
Yep, and move out of the way, play a3.
Yeah.
So is it game over? Well, just about.
I would play knight e3 at some point. Try to get rid of the knight, but right now I cannot do it, so...
Yeah, and currently, I think it's 6 seconds against 10, but... yeah, it's
okay,
Studer has almost lost on time.
And knight, yeah, everything. Rook f, knight d2 check, knight e5. Like pretty much everything wins here, I would think.
Yeah, he just went take rook a8. That doesn't look the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, this is very, very weird.
Yeah. King
So this
B3.
I don't
No?
understand what Radic did. Yeah. Well, King B3
Yeah.
you don't get it immediately still because I have C4.
Yeah. I mean, Radic is now the one very short of time. Is he trying to draw or I don't know.
No ways.
Well, with a second or two.
90 to 94 still Black is winning.
Ooh, yeah. So
No, this
Black's
Black is
king's-
winning.
He is. And
And
there's no rook G1. Should be
Rook
game
B8.
over.
The easiest is Rook B8 check maybe. Ah no.
Anyway,
even
this is pretty good, and I'd save that pawn.
Knight
and he
F5,
did.
Knight A4 even.
He went for knight E4. Is he going for another pawn?
Why not? Yeah, now G4 simply. Yeah.
Rook A4. So he's just pushing. Knight G5 looks good.
Rook A2 wins.
But he didn't play it.
He didn't say it. Yeah. Lots of blunders.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
you know, it's
but-
always easy to spot these things while commenting. While playing, it's always gets tricky.
Yeah, and to be honest, they're playing on 2-second increments. They're just trying not to do anything stupid. Okay, if Rook
Absolutely.
F2 comes, that will be game over, and it's happened. So okay, this should be all over. Let's see, 96 or something, 94.
Yeah, pretty much
King
everything
G2,
is. Yeah.
Yeah, King G2 and Knight G3 check, and
Okay, Knight.
your Queen with check. He
Queen
forgot
with
about
check.
that. Oh, what on earth is going on? I think it's frozen.
Yeah.
At
Oh,
least, yes,
back one.
he's. The game isn't over, but or is it? It is over. Wojciech
It is
has
over.
won.
It is over. It is over.
Yeah. He didn't lose on time. So Wojciech is still only 1 point behind Adams, which is quite an achievement. With Adams going fantastic. Oh no, sorry, he's 2 points behind in the rapid, but
Right.
2 points clear of Anton and Naidic, who keep winning.
Right.
So Hari Krishna falls further off the pace, and so does Kama.
By
This
the way,
is,
Jan, I have to take a leave. I'll not be able to comment for the next round.
No, thank you very much. And it's great to have you joining the broadcast. And any final comments?
I enjoyed your all your commentaries and everything. I love watching. You know, not only here, but also I remember number of times in Australia when you were commenting. I always enjoy that. So,
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well, I should mention also that you have a new YouTube station with some rather remarkable interviews. It started with a big interview with Vishwanathan Anand, and there was a fascinating one with Pentala Hari Krishna, but also a very interesting one with Levon Aronian.
Yeah,
and
also
I think
today,
Giri now?
Anish, and today I did with Koneru Hampi.
So really, it's worth a look. It takes some time because they're in-depth. They're including some very good games as well, but it's really worth looking at. So if you have a chance, instead of going to the League of Legends tournament, why not watch Surya's YouTube station?
Yeah, and also I'm doing few sessions with the youngsters like Nihal Prag and Divya Deshmukh, and like all these youngsters. I'm solving positions with them. I'm going through some games. So it's pretty interesting.
I'll have a look at that. Anyway, great to have you on the program.
Thank you. Thanks
I'll catch up with you later. Bye.
Absolutely. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, so the cleaning is in progress. Well, it's completed, and they're adding the pieces now, the new pieces. So it's. I think they'll be very happy when this tournament is over, because this is the harder work than the players, perhaps. Because remember, when they take that box of pieces away, they have to clean it while the players are playing as well, and clean each individual piece ready for the next game. So right now it's Michael Adams, unbelievable performance. 9.5 out of 10, and Wojciech pretty impressive as well, with 8.5. And this is the big match. So Adams is playing Wojciech. If he can keep going, he can actually take the lead in the tournament. But I'm sure his opponent will be desperate to stop him. So, oh, sorry, are these scores correct? I'm not so sure. The blitz may include the wrong result. I think that Wojciech is on 7.5 here, not 6.5, but oh yeah, well, there's one game missing. Sorry, that's right. So this table is before the last round of the blitz is finished. It's been updated. Here we go. So 2 points clear for Adams. Wojciech is 2 points clear in the main tournament, and this could be where Biel 2020 is decided over these next two blitz games, because if someone can score 2-0 here, then it will be very, very hard for the other player. Wojciech, though, well, it has some insurance from the Rapid tournament, but it's still not going to be easy for him. And yeah, we'll soon be joined by Dina Belenkaya, and she will join me for the next round. This cleaning is still going on. The players are not yet at the board, but well, we're watching a pretty awesome performance by Michael Adams, the oldest player in the field. Before this tournament, he was world number 35. I think in Blitz, I think he's going to be going up quite dramatically. That's a lot of points. So Dina's been watching on site, and how's it been going?
Hello once again, Yin. Hello, everyone. It is going pretty well on site, and we also had a very special guest in the studio. We did not manage yet to get Sven Nopels in our live studio, who is the director of Grenke Open, but we had Mr. Philippe Zary, who is vice president of the Swiss Chess Federation. And it was very interesting to have him for an interview. He told us how the things were organized during the lockdown in Switzerland. There were some online activities. There were masterclasses also by such great players and Grandmaster Yannick Pelletier, who did some masterclasses, and there were some tournaments that were postponed. Unfortunately, Swiss national championship for adults has been cancelled, and is expected to get place next year, 2021. But there are some junior championships that are about to take place in September. And also the league, the Swiss Club League, also is about to is expected to have place again. Also, they are preparing the biggest online tournament in Switzerland so far. So yeah, life is going on, and the very nice thing to hear was that Vice President Mr. Zary has mentioned that there was a lot of effort of organizers of the Biel Chess tournament that were put into the organization of this tournament, and so far everything seemed to be very successful. So he congratulated on that as well.
Yeah, well, it's both a relief and really wonderful to have a real tournament again, and it's even great to see Blitz as well, because you have to play it in masks, I guess, at the moment, but the players don't seem to have a problem at all.
Yes, that's absolutely brilliant to see players being so open to the conversation and willing to contribute to the best of that we can do, judging the conditions. How did it go with the special guest of today?
Oh, Surya was great. Of course, he's got inside knowledge. He's also played in Biel 3 times. Still regrets not winning the Master Open, and well, his analysis is great. You know, he's a long time second of Vishwanathan Anand, but now he's training some of the best juniors, Pragnanandha, Nihal Sarin, and Deshmukh as well. So he's apparently he's putting some of the training sessions on YouTube where they solve puzzles. So you can go against the best young players in India and see how you go. And he's also got a wonderful YouTube station simply with interviews, and they're the sort of interviews you don't see anywhere else. They're often in 3 parts, some hours. So it's really definitely worth having a look at. I think the games are beginning,
Yes,
and of course
indeed.
we're looking at Wojciech Adams, which is a funny sort of Queen's Gambit exchange variation where black has thrown the move a6 in, and this line with bishop e6 and a6 and bishop d6 is playable, but hasn't got a very good reputation. I guess he's trying to get Wojciech in something that he really hasn't got a lot of theory on, and bit by bit Adams is swapping some pieces. So he doesn't want to take on f4 for a while, though he may have to eventually. White doesn't have knight e5, and if white doesn't have knight e5, then the only plan you've got usually is a b4, a4, b5 plan, and that may not be too easy to complete either. So there's always a danger here if you play b4 too early, say rook b1 and b4, or a3 and b4, you'll get hit by b5 and knight b6 and knight c4. So okay, h6 doesn't seem terribly useful, but as soon as b4 came, b5. And now knight b6, knight c4. And usually that just kills that queenside attack. White has to go for an e4 plan, but he's not that well placed for e4 to exploit the c6 pawn here. So I think Adams has already fully equalized. And his clock is very healthy. He's played very, very fast up to this point. So yeah, after b5 and knight b6, well, white can put a knight on c5. We're going to d3 and c5, but it just doesn't seem to help a lot. The big question for black after knight c4 is often which pawn to take back with. When you take back with the d pawn, if white gets e4 in, white can sometimes be better. But if you take back with the b pawn, occasionally white can go a4 and b5 and undermine the d5 pawn. So he's not doing either at the moment. Knight d7 just covers the e5 square. Now he's waiting for white to move the bishop away from d3 and then try to play knight d3, and then the knight will be able to go into c4 quite well. And remember, of course, keeping the knight on b6 prevents white from going a4 and finding counterplay around there. So queen c3 is asking for knight c4. I don't know if black will oblige yet, but it doesn't look too bad. It's pretty easy to defend the c6 pawn too. But maybe knight e5 is becoming an idea. So maybe you should go knight c4 here. And if a4, you can abandon the a file and it's not so bad. Remembering, of course, after white plays a4 that the white queen will have to stay around defending the b4 pawn. But okay, Adams decided calm play. It actually cost him a lot of time, rook c8. So he's now slightly behind on the clock, both with about 2 minutes left. They started with 3 minutes. And white is switching to an e4 plan, but he won't be able to do it quickly because he's got to worry about his knight on f4. So I guess he's looking at knight takes e6 and then e4. So white will usually immediately play a4, but he didn't. He took on e6, and now he wants e4.
And he did play e4 eventually.
Yeah. So if you get a chance, you're going to undermine well, he has undermined that knight on c4. So after rook takes e4, I guess it'll be queen d5, but it looks a bit artificial. White does have some prospects there. Well, I don't suppose you want to take with the bishop. No, rook takes queen d5. So either double the rooks or play rook e7 and try to threaten bishop e4. But I think doubling the rooks makes a lot of sense. And just see how it goes. He did. Okay, so Adams is going to take on b4 and play rook a3, given a chance. So white has to be quick.
And b takes a5.
Takes a5. Oh, if rook takes, bishop takes... No, that doesn't work, does it? Ah, yes, if rook takes, bishop c4, bc4, rook e5, and you win material. So you cannot take back with the rook. You could play c5 if you wanted, though that also looks a bit dodgy. He just went knight f6. So rook e7, is there a threat? Well, you still can't take on a5. So knight, well, with the rook, okay, knight takes. Now it looks as if white can start invading. Knight e5, and then bishop f5, and then knight f7 and bishop e6, something along those lines. He played it, and bishop f5 doesn't gain a tempo now, unfortunately, but definitely much better for white.
Ich komme gleich. Please excuse me, I may have to leave you because we are expecting to have Sven Nopels, the director of Grandkid Tournaments, just right now for an interview.
Absolutely. I will pass on my best wishes. I remember the Dessau tournament with great pleasure. So, and also his Grandkid tournaments, of course, were fantastic. So, Rook f8 played, and now it's Wojciech's turn to have a big thing. So, see you later, Dina.
Thank you very much. See you later.
Okay, how do we get through? I think bishop f5 looks interesting, but it is unstable there. He's tried knight g4. So he has an e5 square for his rook, but it doesn't seem to do too much. I think Adams is probably going okay here. Okay, and now a3. At best, white is going to be a pawn up, but it'll be a d pawn, and he probably won't be winning that, but in fact, he definitely won't be winning that. So rook a3, rook c4, rook a6, and if rook c7, rook d8, looks like a draw. And I don't know if Adams has got anything better. Rook a4, for example. He's played that, but rook c7, then he'll play rook d8. And that, yeah, everything is drawing, I guess. So rook c3 played, now he'll go rook d8. I suppose rook e4 is a draw. Yeah, and both sides will think about bringing their king up, but nothing really can be done here. I don't know what the draw rules are, but I suspect they can agree a draw before move 40. So rook b8 played in order to play rook b3. That's annoying. Very annoying, actually. So what can you do? You're going to lose a pawn, but make sure it's just the insignificant pawn. So bring your rook back. You have to take on... Oh, he doubled. Okay, well, we don't have time now to take. Clever move. So what about g6, though? It doesn't change the position, and our king gets out. So he brought his rook back, rook e5. Okay, it should be okay. Should just be a draw now. Surely. Rook e3, and we've got rook c3 later. f6, rook e6 looks fine. Okay, so he's played this. We can take rook c5, and that will be a draw. So really nothing going for the position. He's putting his pawn on the 7th, but unfortunately his rook's the wrong way around for it. So rook takes c4. King e7, rook takes, and they will agree a draw, and they have agreed a draw. So Wojciech draws his first game with Adams. He doesn't make up any ground. Kaymer has beaten Nidich. He needed that win a lot. David Anton is... Oh, what a weird position. Looks better for black, but I'm not completely sure. It's a great pawn on f2. He's not threatening to queen it, though. King g5 and knight here. So this should be winning. It looks like Hari Krishna is going down again. So knight f6, h4, and that is game over. And I think there's nothing Hari can do here. He's waiting for h3. No, but and bishop takes and king takes f2. But even that's not working. I think he's resigned. He has indeed. So Hari Krishna loses to Anton. That is this tournament is getting very expensive for Hari Krishna. He's going to have to play really well in the last 3 classical games. And Edward finally wins a game. He beat Noel Studer. It's been a long, hard slog for Edward in this event. But, yeah. So we have all 4 games completed. And after 11 rounds, Michael Adams has 10. Wojciech has 8. Anton, 6.5. He's now clear third. Nidich is 5.5. Kaymer is 4.5. Hari Krishna 4. Studer 3, and Edouard 2.5. And those bottom 4 players, and maybe even Nidic, are really not going so well if they're trying to rescue their tournament. Sure, Edouard was out of it already, so was Studer most likely. But Anton is suddenly moving up a bit. There's still a bit of a gap, but he and Nidic are sort of closing in on Kamer. It was an 8-point gap. It's now a 6.5-point gap, and still quite 3 games to go. And if Kamer keeps losing, then there's certainly he'll be dropping off the pace. But Hari Krishna is now 3 points behind Adams in the overall standings, and Adams is 2 behind Wojciech. So it's going to be really hard for Hari Krishna to win it from here. He desperately needs a win in the next game, but Edouard is clear last now. Studer has dropped a bit. He's fallen well behind Anton and Nidic. And actually, Anton, because he had such a bad rapid tournament. Okay, this is not complete, by the way. I think there are some games missing here. Yeah, so let's see. It's been updated now, right? So all in all, yeah, Anton has caught Nidic, and well, the chase for Kamer is pretty tough, actually. He's a long way back, but Kamer has, hang on, have we got a result wrong here as well? I'm not sure, because I have Anton with 5.5. Anyway, we can check that. I think there was one Kamer Anton game that might have, no, not a Kamer Anton game that might have gone in the wrong way. Anyway, I'll check this later, but certainly the scores are basically correct, and they indicate that Wojciech is still ahead, and the games are about to start, I believe. So let's stay with the Adams games, of course, and let's see if Wojciech can do anything here with the black pieces. So the players are just about ready to go, I think, and we'll see how it goes there. Still waiting. Arbiter hasn't given the all clear yet. So Adams in his red Biel mask, Wojciech in a traditional blue one. And we have a Sicilian night off, where you never know what you're going to get with Adams, but he played A4 in the classical, and he's played A4 here as well. So standard line, in fact, very, very similar to what Adams had before, if not identical. And here, knight d7. So if you take on e6 and play knight g5, what happens? He didn't do it. So rook c8. Now he's always got knight f8. And here he tries to get rid of one of the defenders of the d5 square, but it's not quite that easy to do, because the knight is ready to take back on f6, but black has to find a way to do something. Okay, h6, bishop takes. Usually you take back with the knight here and keep d5 under control. And although black seems to have a very safe position, it's now a question of whether white can maneuver his knight on f3 to a better square. I think in his earlier game, he went for the knight to d2 to f1 idea. Here, rook d3, indirectly defending b3. You may need that at some point. So, if bishop takes b3 and queen b6, it's not so scary. So the queen's looking for the b4 square, I think, queen c5. And when he's there, then white will finally have to do something about his bishop on b3. Either choose to knight d5, take on e6. Okay, now queen b4, rook a4 knocks the queen away, so that's not quite working. Do we want to take on b3 and play queen b4 anyway? That's possible, but I'm a little bit worried about some knight d5 tricks. So bishop d8 played, and Adams did put his pawn on a5 in an earlier game, and it was a slight weakness. But there's also a b5 move sometimes for black and take back with the bishop. So knight d2 played. If bishop takes pawn here, I'm a little bit baffled about what you do next. But he went bishop g4 at a time when you have to move your queen somewhere else. And after that, bishop takes a5 is looking a little bit more tempting. So I think this is working out okay. So knight d5. You can't take, but you can go bishop d8. And I think that's what he wanted to do. And then rook c3 would be answered by queen a7, and I think we're still doing okay. So after bishop d8, what is the problem? Certainly Adams thinks there is one, but rather Wojciech must think there is one, but it's a very obvious move. He's played it. Knight c4. Okay, this is where it gets a little bit scary. You'd love to take on e4, but rook a5 stuff, and there's all sorts of... Oh, he's taken on e4. Okay. So either that was a blunder or black has stolen a second pawn. So rook a... Oh, there was no rook a5. The bishop's on it. So rook e1, we can go back again. This looks fantastic. Bishop f5 might be even better, although there is a knight e3 at some point. Then we just disappear to g6. There's no knight b6. The bishop on d8 does a wonderful job controlling those knights. And right now, Adams is 2 pawns down. So this could be a big win for Wojciech. It won't win him the Blitz tournament necessarily, but it'll put him 3 points clear at the top of the field with his rivals falling away now. Yeah, it's hard for Adams. Adams is also having a big think. He was ahead on the clock. He's not anymore. b5 is ready to come. d6 is not that weak. You can't play f3. So queen e2 played. That's sensible. And let's see. We can always go back if we want. But actually, if we go bishop g6, we're pretty safe as well. So I'm not really scared of that. So b5 is, of course, the most aggressive. And he's played it. Okay, so knight back, bishop g6 looks very nice. The only trick I've got is a queen g4 and queen takes g6 check, which could be annoying. So white's got a d5 square for 2 pawns. Shouldn't be enough. Okay, so he gets out of the trick with king h7. So is white about to dump a knight on f5 perhaps? There's still knight f6 though, but you do lose your d6 pawn. Oh, he has done it. So queen takes f2 check. And what happens? He's resigned. Adams has lost a game. First game of the tournament. I mean, he was one of those games where you give away a pawn or two and you get a bit depressed, and then you go all in and you lose quickly. But okay, knight f5, queen f2, and well, apart from winning the rook with mate, it's also winning the knight on f5. So really, Wojciech did rather well. Probably a5 wasn't so good. Let's see how the other games are going, because they're all still going. Kama against Naidic. Naidic, who's had such a good tournament, but well, Naidic is up everything. So it's game over, I think. Just up a rook, basically. Kama must resign. He has resigned. Naidic wins again. Kama falls further back. Let's see, at least Hari Krishna's got a good position now. So rook d1. This is all black at the moment. What about rook c4, rook c3? You've got knight f4 ideas, but I like rook c4. So h5 was nothing special. So let's see how this is going. It's probably slightly better for black, but really not well. Okay, that knight is headed for b5, and it's the bishop is trying to stop it, but of course it can't go to e2. So he's okay, he wants to freeze those knights on d4 and keep c6 under attack. I'm not sure that's going to work, but black is simply doing well. So Hari is definitely right in this. Pawn up, good position. He can bring his king up, and he perhaps should, or is knight takes c6 working? So knight e4. He's thinking about knight c3. There should be game over pretty quickly. Rook there, so why not c5? Just keep everything together. Black is doing terrifically well. Yeah, is that 2 pawns up? It is indeed. So after c5, oh, he didn't. He swapped a pair of knights off. Okay, for the moment, well, it's still winning, but it's not quite as winning. I still think he's going fantastically well. He wants to keep rook c5 up. Yeah, win rook d3. Okay, so g4 swaps some pawns off, but doesn't really help very much. So king e5, 2 pawns up in an ending, and hadn't played that though. So bit by bit, Anton is trying to swap off pieces. I still reckon it's a full-on hope, but he's trying for rook f3 check sometime, and actually his pawns aren't moving as quickly as he would have hoped. So rook check, you can even go king e5 if you want, and forget about that f pawn. Instead, he's decided to, well, go. I don't know about this. Okay, rook f3. Probably he'll go c5. 2 connected pawns should beat 1 every time. No, he wants to keep all his pawns. It's a greedy man. So knight comes here. Is it thinking about knight d4? It's also thinking about knight h4 check. So he is 2 pawns up, and that should be... Is he going to resign? Or are the clocks pretty bad? Well, it's white's clock that's really bad. So this is absolutely easy for black. Just bit by bit, you can move up the board. He's probably going to play f4 check, knock the king away, and then king up. Really, there's nothing you can do here with white. He hasn't resigned yet. So there's another check if you want. There's king b5, also looks good. Big choice of ways to win. But at some point, you might have to give up your f4 pawn. He doesn't want to, though. I don't know what white does. Okay, now the black rook can move, but it doesn't have a good square. Yeah, Hari Krishna is mucking around here. He still has lots and lots of time, and his opponent is playing on 2-second increments. Okay, finally, he's thinking about that. Okay, now he can start pushing pawns. King c4, d4, and forget about your pawn on f4. In fact, you could even go, another check. So d4, king c4, c5, king c3, and it should be game over. And he has done that. King c3, king d3 is pretty good too. Sure, you can push your f pawn. You're way, way, way too slow. So king c3. If f4, we go rook a4. He didn't, because we're about to go d2 and d1. He will resign. He has resigned. And Hari Krishna finally breaks back, wins the game against Anton. It's taken a while. Edward and Studer. Edward and Studer. 2 pawns up for Edward, and he's threatening mate. So, yep, he has. Studer winning? Surely not. That must be the wrong way around. So I think the scores were wrong again, because that looks exact. Well, it could have been a loss on time for Edward, I guess. White was very short of time. So, okay, I'll take that one on notice. We'll just check, because if Studer won, it is a bit weird. But anyway, let's assume that that's correct. Adams is only a point clear of Wojciech now in the Blitz. Anton and Naiditsch are continuing along their merry way, although actually Anton is being caught in 3rd place. Hari Krishna moves up to 5th, overtakes Kamer, and overtakes Kamer. Studer has now moved clear of Edward if he has in fact won this game. So we will get a check on that one, but it was probably a win on time. Edward was playing on increment and for quite a few moves, so quite possibly that's the problem. So with 2 rounds to play, We have Adams on 10 out of 12, which would be fantastic, except he just lost his last one. And he can be caught by Wojciech, but it's a little bit unlikely, I'd say. The 11th round pairings see, the 13th round pairing seeing Adams playing Studer, which you would expect Studer to be in a bit of trouble. But you never know. Studer hasn't played too badly in this BLITZ tournament, though 4 out of 12 is not overly impressive. So we will see. They're cleaning the pieces now, and just 2 rounds to play. The overall standings of the tournament see Wojciech moving clear. I believe he's now 3 points clear indeed. Assuming these tallies are correct. And then Adams 4 points clear of Hari Krishna. Yeah, there's something a little bit fishy. I think, yes, the Wojciech Hari Krishna game has it perhaps not been corrected or something along those lines. We will have to check. Nidich is definitely on 16 points, and Kamer is definitely on 21.5. So Anton appears to be. Studer did win on time. That's good to know. Okay, so so Studer has indeed got that under his belt. But yeah, there's a couple of games that we've had where the result hasn't been totally clear. One with Hari Krishna and Wojciech, it was a draw, but it registered as a win for Wojciech. And I'm just wondering if that has not been corrected in the overall cross table. In fact, I think it's quite possible that hasn't. Anyway, Wojciech is well clear, but Adams is now running second. So the result of a really good BLITZ effort. So, well, we might take another musical break here, perhaps. Let's go. Well, we can do a replay of the very well received evergreen game song by Juga that had its Swiss premiere yesterday. Day before yesterday, and we'll cross to that, and then the players will be back with you very soon.
I'm an isolated pawn. I survived some filthy battles. Now I'm far from all the rest, and I'm scared to death. Oh, I'm an isolated pawn. I survived some filthy battles. Now I'm far from all the rest. My weakness is a target. Dark night has blocked my way, and I can't go back. 'Cause I might not be here tomorrow. We might not be here. I might not be here today. So I close my eyes and pray. I will get to run through the fire.
Okay, we are back, and the games have just started in the 13th round. So we'll stay with Michael Adams against the local hope, Noel Studer, and it's certainly, well, a strange start. So just a Petrov defense with knight c3 on move 5. This line, well, especially the top Chinese players have shown that this is very playable. It's not one of these positions, I think, that is so easy for Adams, but he's headed straight for an ending. It's not meant to be anything at all, this endgame, but let's see how Studer handles it. So he stopped knight g5, which would have been a little bit embarrassing. And, well, white just doesn't have a kingside attack here. G4, G5 just isn't scary at all. And as a result, it's one of those positions where black just has to play sensibly. Okay, so knight h4, he's thinking about knight f5. Now that the h6 has been played, it's much harder to play g6, but even so, it's still not simple. So, okay, bishop f8, yeah, knight f5 is not really threatening anything. At some point, black will put another rook on d8 and just play d5, and that's the general idea. Adams would like to make that as hard as possible to do, so he's gone for bishop c3. Is bishop f6 even a problem? I don't know. Doesn't, yeah, it could be a little problem. So knight d7 played. I think that's basically what white was hoping for. Now white can play bishop, no, not bishop b4 immediately, but b3 and then bishop b4. Well, bishop f5 is interesting. Doesn't threaten anything, but ties black up a little bit to that d pawn. So knight b6 will just play b3, I suppose. And can we just go d5 then? Because if we can, all is good. We could, actually, this is not so easy. We could take on e6 and play knight g6 at some point, but, and give up the c pawn and get the d6 pawn. So take d5, and there's, well, it's actually quite tricky for white. White would prefer not to swap, but unfortunately the c4 pawn was hanging. So right now we have an ending which should be absolutely fine for black. Sure, white's knight could be nice on g6 or f5, but black can play king f7 and just, well, maybe d4, knight d5 as well, but king f7 and swap the rooks off. And even though a lot of your pawns are on black squares, I'm not too scared about this at all. So c3 played, take, knight d5 looks good. So the bishop will go back presumably to d2, b2, eh? And black should be able to, oh, knight f4. Okay, so the threat is g5 to attack that pawn. And, well, yeah, it's tricky. Because when you take h3, you're going to get f2 as well. If you go rook d1, knight g2, rook d7, and followed by knight f5, it's still, well, maybe. Okay, bishop back. He's, yeah, now if we want to take on g2, we have to play g5 first. So he went knight d3 first. Okay, and now if he gets the c1 bishop and king f7, should be okay. But he's going for more. Okay, so he wants c4. The pawn will be a bit weak, but nonetheless, yeah, he's got good piece placement. So the knight can actually come back to e3 if it wants to now. In fact, couldn't, oh no, there's still no knight f4. So bishop e3, you can go a6. Looks very simple. Refrain from playing, oh, he's not going for simplicity, he's going for attack. So there is rook d2, but I guess there might be a quick c4, c3. So g4. If White can get a pawn on h5 as well, White will stand very well in a lot of the endgames. So c4 has been played, and White's king is hoping to move up the board and take stuff. So bishop b4, that way it can't move up the board and take stuff. There's also a knight e1 check in some positions. So right now, should White go h4 and h5, or bishop d4, g6 I'm a bit scared about. I think things could go wrong there very quickly. So h4 played. So it's definitely the positional idea. And what can Black do to make progress? Well, certainly the knight check on e1 is a draw, I'd say, if you want it. And if you don't want it, let's say king b2, rook d1, maybe. Rook d3, maybe. Or c3, c2, but I'm not sure you're queening there, but it's dangerous. Yeah, c3, c2. Rook d1 played. Okay. So he wants knight d3 check, but it's actually not doing anything. So what about a3 here? If knight d3 check, king c2, and you might be losing material. Oh, maybe we can play rook e1, but it's barely hanging on. So a3 played. Adams is back in the game. So knight check, king there, bishop c3. What's going on? Why did he not play king c2? This is horrible. Adams is losing. He just overlooked bishop c3. And this is total disaster. So Adams is lost, completely lost. Okay, let's see how his rival is going, because Wojciech could catch him this round. Yep, Studer beats Adams. Great result for the Swiss guy. Okay, here we have Wojciech with black against Knightage. Wojciech has 2 extra pawns and a knight coming to c4. That looks like game over for Knightage. Yep, and he has lost. So that is another game. So Anton, can he keep pace with the leaders? Yes, he has already beaten Kama. Just positional game. And the last one is Hare Krishna. Well, it's actually not looking that great for him, I must admit. White seems to be dominating the board, has won a pawn, he's got his king safe, he's ready for knight c6. Hare Krishna is in all sorts of bother. And now he's weakened his f6 square as well. So it's shocking the way this game is going. Pawn takes. Oh, that came out of nowhere. Queen f5, queen a8. Oh, it's game over. And Hare Krishna is probably just lost here. Yep, he will resign, I'd say. No, not yet. His clocks are a problem for White. Edward is very, very short a time, but he has now just won another piece. And Hare Krishna resigns. Edward wins 2 in a row, I think. And he actually doesn't move off the bottom because of Noel Studer, but Hare Krishna is really falling through the cracks now. So we have a tie for first, Adams and Wojciech. Remember, Adams got to 9 out of 10, and all of a sudden he's equal with Wojciech, 2.5 ahead of Anton, who's really made some ground, as has Knightage. Hare Krishna and Studer. Vincent came really out of the running, and okay. And Dina has finished her interview. So what was happening while these games were going on? Dina, please.
Yes, thank you, Ian. We did have a chance to interview the director of Grand Chess Festival, Mr. Mr. Lopez and Mr. Sven Lopez. That was a total pleasure, and he visited us here in order to see better how is it going the organization so far, because such a great, such a big tournament as Grand K Open was to be cancelled back in April 2020. They are preparing for 2021. The situation is still unstable, but thanks to Biel Chess Festival, they can learn from it and see how the things can go on for the next year for them.
They're not planning to do a French Open and hold it 6 months late?
I don't think so. I've also asked him about the Bundesliga so far, because the dates of the German Bundesliga have been postponed both for men and women. Men Bundesliga still has 7 more rounds to go, while Women Bundesliga has only 3. So the Women Bundesliga is expected to be in the latest dates of September. So was the Men's Bundesliga, but he told us that just 3 hours ago he got a call from Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, who actually got informed that FIDE is planning to continue candidates tournament in the end of September at the same dates, which are astonishing news, not confirmed yet. So this puts under danger.
Could you repeat that, please? What dates?
That should be expected on the period of late September. Yes,
and
but
where?
No information yet. These are inside news from Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, who has talked to FIDE. So no confirmation, nothing concrete, just some gossips, let's say. But this might put under danger the Bundesliga dates, which will have to be found in the other period. They also planning to get the special tournaments for 8 teams, which will make better the standings for the season 2020, but otherwise they're preparing mostly for 2021.
Okay. So September, well, it can only be New Zealand or Fiji, I guess, if the players want to be completely safe.
Probably Switzerland.
Maybe. So let's see. The last round is about to start, I think, and let's see how they're going. So the game we'll follow is the same one we had before, Adams against Studer. Studer against Adams, rather. And this is, well, can Noel Studer hold Adams again? I mean, it was a great effort in the first game. We've got a Catalan opening, nothing much going on here. It was one where Black played bishop b4 check and went back to e7. So after c6, most people go bishop f4. But you can play rook d1 or b3. So rook c1, that has also been played. It's quite trendy. And b6. And if you can't swap on c6 and make something of that, then usually you're not doing much. There's a knight a3 idea in a lot of these positions to try to make it work. And, well, no, he's not going for it. He took, and then he just bishop f4. And now the knight can go to d2 without knight h5 being a problem. Okay, he's getting out of the pin first. He'd love to be able to play knight c3 and knight b5 quickly, but I think rook c8 might prevent that. He went knight e4, so knight c3 is played. And this is a small advantage for Studer, I think. Okay, lovely idea, knight b8. Looks weird, but now if we go knight b5, we're not actually threatening to come in on d6. And you can probably go a6, although there's some weaknesses there on b6. So knight b5 could be interesting. But all in all, yeah, if knight b8 works, then black's going to be equal with the knight on c6. But white's got a moment to try and make something of this position. Perhaps knight e5. But no, the move I want to play is something like knight b5. I don't know if I can. So he took on e4. Is he really going to go knight d2 now? Yes, he is. Okay. Can you save that pawn? Bishop d5, and then f5 is the idea, I suppose. And, well, you don't have any choice, I would say. Adams is...
and bishop d5 did happen on the board.
It did. Okay. And so let's see. And Studer is... I think he stands okay. Queen c3, that's a funny square, so f5 will happen. And f3. So take, I guess you get an e5 square. Bishop takes. Yeah, so I sort of wanted to go knight a6 and hit the c7 bishop, but unfortunately, at the moment, my d5 square is not well supported.
Indeed.
No, it's hard. Okay, queen d7, and black seems to be slightly better here now, which is a bit surprising. You probably have to move your bishop. e5 is obvious.
Bishop f4 has just happened.
Oh,
Probably.
that's to stop bishop g5. Okay, makes sense.
Is
I
g5
can't play
an
knight
option?
c6. Is what? Sorry, g5.
G5 an option?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. But then you push us to bishop e5 anyway. Okay, knight a6 makes sense. But yeah, if black wants to equalize, then this makes a lot of sense. You've got rook c8. You can move your knight again, or you can play queen b7. Oh, queen b7, you take on d5. So knight c7. Now maybe you can take everything on c7, but he didn't want to. Okay, knight c4. So e5 is a problem. Take. He wants to put his knight on d5. And now both pieces want to go to e5, the bishop and the knight, and it's not so easy. Okay, now bishop d2 is nice and safe. And now knight e5. And it's slightly worse bishop against knight, but it's really not such a problem. Yeah, you have to do it anyway. I mean, you can't let black control the board, double the rooks on the c file, and so on. You're going to have to play queen and bishop against queen and knight, and it's not that scary. The knight is good, but the bishop on d2 keeps it under control. But no move from Studer, and yeah, he is down to his last minute now.
Rook e1 has just happened.
Okay, so there's a lot of knight moves followed by queen takes pawn check that look okay.
Rook d8.
Yeah, rook d8, yep. So you've got to go knight d5 soon.
Absolutely, it's an outpost.
Yeah, it's not going to stay there forever, but if you go there and he takes it, you could even try taking with the rook and trying to get some pressure on e6. It's not great. And you don't even have to take.
So.
I mean, after knight e5, I can go queen a4 and just hassle you. Yeah, just
King
cause problems.
g2.
Okay. So can we go knight c7 now? And if bishop c3, I want to go knight b5. And that pawn, maybe rook d1. But I like knight c7 because I protect e6 as well. And if knight e5, you're going to lose d5 anyway. But he went b5. He really wants white to go knight e5. And I guess he will. And then bishop takes. No. He wants to keep that knight. So knight a5. Okay, how do you preserve your pawn? It has to be bishop c3. Can we take this pawn? Probably not. Bishop c3. So knight c4 looks very nasty. You have to go bishop c3, and because that knight is so badly placed, queen d5. And it's all happened. And there's no rook e5. Yeah, at some point black may be able to go a5. So knight c5 looks unstable, but at least you're threatening something.
Probably if you manage to get to play b4, it will be better for the knight.
Yeah, a3 will hang though. So he wants knight b4 or he wants knight f4 now.
Knight
and he's finally got
d3.
knight f4. Okay, that was clever to get to f4. And actually that pawn on e6 is in trouble because you move your queen d5 exactly. That is... Actually, is this winning for Studer?
d5.
Wow. He hasn't got a lot of time, 27 seconds. So rook d6, well, take on e6. Take on f6 first, then take on e6. This looks fantastic.
Yes, that is happening on the board.
Yep. So take on e6. Poor old Adams. This is a horrible, horrible position.
Wow.
So take on d6, play rook d1. Studer is sort of frozen at the moment. He's down to 10 seconds now. So queen e5. It's annoying, but it's really not doing anything. So
yes, you should not take for sure.
No. Okay, king f2. He's giving away b2, but he doesn't really care.
Yeah, because there was knight e3 hanging.
Ah, okay, right. So if we can get anything to the 7th, we should be winning. Of course, a queen to the 7th would be even better. He's just allowed queen g1.
Because
What
there
on
was
earth
knight e3 as well. Knight e3 was...
Oh dear, Adams is now winning again.
Oh.
Okay, this was not the world's greatest effort, although the knight on f4 is pretty good. But once the king stops the pawn, you should be able to make progress with the rook. Now, rook c4, I guess. Whether it's winning or not, the king's great on d6 because it is a long way from the knight checking anything. And here, okay, rook b3, suddenly f3 is falling. Knight d3 is possible, but it's just tricky. We can even start with king e7 or something. Oh, so is he... Okay, he's waiting for white to make a move, and then he's going to go rook b3 again. And that causes some problems. So now, if king takes pawn, you have a knight check, but I think the black king will invade. Oh, he checked there first. There's not even knight c5. This is the end of the game for Studer, and Adams will win. So the question is, will he win the tournament? Yeah, okay, they're playing on, but as long as black avoids the knight fork. So let's go to the Wojciech game, because this will decide... Oh, and it looks like we've just come in at the critical moment of the Wojciech game, because rook takes c6 seems to be winning a piece.
Wow.
There was a knight there. Suddenly rook takes c6. Wojciech will tie for first. Knightage, I think, has resigned. Yep. So that is game over. David Anton against Kaymer. Anton is winning this position against Kaymer.
Yeah.
Yep, Kaymer's resigned. And Hari Krishna, can he break back? Well, it looks like it's completely winning for Hari, and he has won the game. So that is our final round, and it is a tie for first between Wojciech and Adams. Adams started absolutely brilliantly, but in the key match, he lost 1.5 to Wojciech, and that was enough to allow Wojciech to catch him after Adams also lost one game against local hero Noel Studer. So 11 points out of 14 for both Adams and Wojciech. David Anton goes to 8.5. He is in clear third place. Arkady Knight stays on 6.5. Hari Krishna goes to 6, so he's at least got a respectable score. And Noel Studer went down, so he stays on 5. And Kaymer moves up. No, hang on. Did Kaymer move up? No, he went down to Anton, I think. Yeah, he went down to Anton, so he stays on 4.5. So Kaymer probably has no chance of winning the tournament now, but Adams has dramatically increased his chances. And Wojciech's still looking good. Again, I query those totals. I'm not sure that they're correct, but we'll check them overnight and make sure we've got them right.
Yeah, that was an absolutely amazing day for Michael Adams so far.
Yes, yes, indeed.
That would be interesting. That would be curious to see Noel Studer winning the last game just as he did. Remember on the very first day of Chess 960 when he was 0 out of 6 and winning the last game against one of the leaders, Radoslav Wojciech. I think he did have chances in this game that we both looked at, but I guess from that moment when there was a queen e5, knight e3 was already a threat. So king f2. There is no defense, so probably he could have considered something else, maybe rook d2 or something. Yeah, rook e1. Rook e1 could be an option.
Yeah, well, yeah, or I think also he could think about queen d3 coming in on d7, give up the rook and play queen d7, and suddenly queen f7 and knight g6 mate is coming.
Wow,
so it would have been a bit scary.
Sacrifice.
So the